Welcome to the Fantasy Fangirls podcast, where two sisters dive deep into beloved fantasy lore, characters, themes, theories, and more.
I'm Lexi, older sister and fantasy lore nerd.
And I'm Nicole, younger sister and romantic at heart.
And today is the day where we begin our journey deep diving When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. This episode 1 is covering the prologue through chapter 15. And with that said, please listen closely to our spoiler warning. Every episode includes spoilers for all of When the Moon Hatched. For these deep dives to just really and truly be the best that they can be, we pull in information from the entire book for theories, foreshadowing, lore, all that good stuff.
So, if you don't know why we need to talk about Kazari, then please go finish the book. We will be here when you're done.
Next, we at Fantasy Fangirls are adults who say adult things about adult books. In other words, friends, this podcast is rated R.
Lexi, you know who smells good?
Who?
Kaan Vegor.
Yeah,
and Reave thinks so too. Our feralness for this book husband is just getting started, so please be mindful of those little listening ears.
Additionally, we are so excited to see you at upcoming live events.
We are so excited to announce that we will be partnering with Tattered Cover and Book and Gather for a Ballad of Falling Dragons release party on May 18th. Tickets are going out this week. Keep an eye on social media for all announcements. We can't wait!
And then on April 8th, we are partnering with the Denver Nuggets and Rebecca Yarros for a Fourth Wing themed basketball night at Ball Arena. Plus, we are so excited to do a live show at the Neptune Theater in Seattle on April 19th. Tickets are on sale now for you to dive deep into how to train your dragon with us.
Check out our website or the links below for more information and more events. And keep an eye out for those Ballad of Falling Dragons tickets coming this week.
In case you missed it, Fantasy FanFellas Season 2 is well underway on the Fantasy FanFellas feed, where Hayden and Steven are diving deep into Brandon Sanderson's The Well of Ascension. Each episode only includes spoilers up to the chapters covered, as Hayden takes Steven through his first time reading the Mistborn series.
Then the network's newest podcast, Fantasy FanReads, launches later this month on March 24th. Hosted by the delightful Jess of Lost Books of Jess, this podcast will be all about celebrating the joys of reading with author interviews, cozy coffee conversations, and more. Give both of these Fantasy Fangirl Media Network shows a follow. Link is in the show notes.
Last thing before we jump into this When the Moon Hatched episode 1. If you love Fantasy Fangirls and want more events, more content, more community, and so much more, I cannot emphasize that enough, please check out Fantasy Fan Club.
We have 6 membership tiers that you can join, which includes things like access to our boppin' Fantasy Fan Club Discord, live Q&As from Lexi and I, book club, promo codes for live events, also early and ad-free episodes, episode outlines, behind-the-scenes content, welcome gift. There's so much that is involved in the Fantasy Fan Club. Link is in the show notes to check out the tiers.
Join the party at fantasyfangirls.com/fanclub. Link is also in the show notes, like Nicole said. And really and truly, thank you so much for supporting us as we turn this podcast into a media network, into a dream come true. It's all because of you.
And now, the world began with 5. I feel like our 7 is going to need to change to 5, right? Or something like that.
To start off every episode, let's get a parchment lock delivery, where Nicole does us the honor of summarizing what happens in the prologue through chapter 15 of When the Moon Hatched.
Prologue. Before the events of our story, there were 5 gods. Yes, 5 as a full celestial pop band. Using their divine barbershop quintet, they sang the world into existence. Spotify could never. Boulder, the HGTV, sculpted and interior designed the fuck out of the planet. Rain was literally the story of a girl who cried a river and drowned the whole world. Claude, ASMR queen, whose wind raged from gentle swishes to hurricanes, emotional range unmatched. Ignos, Lava Boy, and Lava Boy, who loved Claude so fiercely that he did everything to impress her. Bro is trying to get that game. Meanwhile, Kalis stood off to the side, radiating jealousy like it's his full-time job. But from his emptiness of the ether, that is where life bloomed. The other gods discovered it was Kalis to blame when the moons began falling. Bad Kalis. So they trapped him in a sterling diadem that to this day, it is where he remains. The story of Kalis's entrapment became a myth until one aurora rise. More than 5 million phases later, another moon fell. And that's when we all collectively go, oh no! Chapter 1. Our story begins with Reave, disguised as Kamori Daffodone, a traveling bar, absolutely not assassin, who's here at the Hungry Hollow to track down Tarek Relican. Here, she runs into a tall, dark, and mysterious man before her set. I wonder who that could be. Not important. Not only is this hunk of a man in her way, he also tried to rip off her veil? How rude. But with her target in sight, Reave sits down to start her Nat 20 performance, but the brooding male from before watches her sing. Dun dun dun, chapter 2. After 7 hours of singing, Jesus, Reave finally gets to call it quits, but she can't even pee in peace. Tarek has her cornered, and he is fully enamored. But let's be honest, who wouldn't be? Reave has the lungs worthy of the creators themselves. Wink, but not for you, Tarek. Being disgusted by his advances, Reave is ready to say fuck it and go all off with your hand right here. Luckily for Tarek, the mysterious man picks this as his moment to enter the stall. Sadly, Tarek will be breathing for another hour. Sigh. On her way out, her performance partner, Levy, stops her to give her their commission and offers to walk her home. Cute, not cute. Upon learning that Reave is part of the Fior du Ath assassins, she gives her a little note that will completely bite her in the ass. But no thanks for the escort offer. Reave actually wants Tarek to follow her to his own bloody doom. Chapter 3. On Rave's long walk home, she gets her wish. Tarek follows her. But when the dumbass pushes her into a wall, he's not expecting her to fight back, or have his air ripped from his lungs, or have his hand cut off. Surprise, motherfucker! Yeah, not a good day to be Tarek Relican. After carving into his chest, Reave takes her blade one final time and slashes his throat. Dead, dead, dead! Chapter 4. Reave yeets his body into a hole in the wall to be a tasty meal for the creatures below. Bon appetit! But oh no! A piece of parchment catches her eye. And well, it turns out that being a rebel right now is not the best choice. That's the least of her worries right now. That man from before is back again, and he's on to her, and not in the fun way. He knows she's lying, and he's ready to get answers. He was until Reave threatened to cut his dick off. Conversation suddenly over. Chapter 5. Reave drops the severed hand down a rubbish chute to a fellow rebel member, allowing them to free the younglings that Tarek has trapped. Yay, good deeds! Alone on the sky bridge, high in the clouds, Reave lies down, picturing herself as a dragon while watching the moons. Interesting. Opening the lark, Reave reads her roommate Essie's Instacart order. The shopper, Reave. But there's only one tiny problem. The most important ingredient is blacked out in Tarek's blood. Chapter 6, a diary entry. 9 phases old. Elowen Navon writes about how it's a load of spangle poop that she has to wait until she's 18 to get a moon plume dragon. And how she doesn't want to wear that silly little stone. Who would, after watching your mother scream and try to rip it off? Traumatizing core memory unlocked. Chapter 7, back to Reave. Shopping! After collecting the list of Essie's items, Reave orders a few things for herself. A new gown, a couple of new blades, a new saw to kill the mysterious man in case he comes a-calling. Self-care, you know? But before she leaves, she's summoned by the evil Sareem. Not optional. Chapter 8. The inside of Sareem's den is a sight to behold as long as you love the color purple. While flaunting Rave's shackles, Sareem delivers some not-so-fun news. Rek Zaros has been hired by the crown to hunt the rebellion of the Fior du Ath, and Reave is forbidden from targeting him for everyone's safety. Sure, Jan. Chapter 9, diary entry. Elowen writes about her worries as her brother Hadion prepares to leave to steal his moonplume egg. The man has a -10 stealth. Not good for this mission. Anxiety is in full activation mode as she realizes she does not think her brother is coming home. Chapter 10. After leaving the Curly Quill, Reave witnesses a gruesome sight. A swarm of molten moths descend on the Colosseum, followed by an ear-splitting scream. Time to get the fuck away from that. Reave stops to admire the moons on her walk home, taking extra time with one in particular that always makes her smile. Hayes Perch. I wonder why. Chapter 11. When Reave finally gets home, she's greeted by the scent of fresh buttery bread, two things that make my tummy go ouchie. And what better way to say thank you to Essie than handing over the ingredients she brought back? Instacart is here, but wait, she missed the most important one, Spangle shit. How else would Essie attach a ruined cap to Rave's tooth after filing that away in the drawer never to be opened again? Reave hides from her emotions in her room. She snuggles an old parchment lark she lovingly named Nee, and while looking at her favorite moon, she drifts to sleep. I wonder if her favorite book is Goodnight Moon. Chapter 12, Diary Entry. Eluan has snuck into Hadion's sleigh. No! But it's too late now, bro. Moon Plume Egg Heist time. Chapter 13, Kaan's POV. Kaan visits a pub, and boy, oh boy, does he spiral hard. That voice, those eyes, that scent. He's seen it all before. It can't be possible. But focus, sir, because he's here to meet his daughter. His niece, Kazari. She needs his help. She can hear Kalis, god of ether, from within the ether stone and wants to set him free. Why would you do such a thing? She's fallen in love with him. The stone. As one does. Chapter 14. Reave wakes up after sleeping the day away to discover the worst possible thing. Essie has been attacked. She does her best to pack the wound, but it's too late to save her friend. She gathers Essie into her arm and holds her while she takes her final breath. Emotions everywhere. Reave activates Nee, return to Sunderfold, and as her final act, she lights a cloth on fire, completing Essie's final wish. Light it up, bitch! Outside her home, Reave is drawn to a knife on the ground, and it's inscribed with Rex Zaros' initials and a location. New quest unlocked. Kill Rex Zaros as revenge for Essie's death. Chapter 15. The other stalks the Undercity. The other looks for her target. It doesn't take her long to find him, but just walking up and saying, "Hey, bestie," that's not the vibe. She needs to draw him out. She opens herself up and taps into Claude and Boulder's magic. Boulder, wait a minute. Who are you? Soldier after soldier drops it like it's hot until she's struck with an iron dart. Rex Zaros makes his appearance, bragging about killing Essie. Sir, read the room. But retaliation has had the final laugh because when he touches the other, she bites off his finger. Ha ha! Unfortunately, girl bossing too close to the sun has its consequences, and the other is knocked unconscious.
Thank you so much for that recap, Nicole. We will dive right back into this episode after a quick word from our sponsors. It is time to listen to the Elemental songs to explore key insights, character analysis, lore, foreshadowing, theories, and so much more. Like always, when we begin a new book, let's take a look at the dedication for When the Moon Hatched, which is for those who feel small and quiet. Spread those wings and roar. When I read this dedication in the context of the story and specifically the main character Reave, I'm reminded how she's never truly felt freedom, always trying to be silenced by those who want to control her and make her in servitude to them. But then we have those spread those wings and roar, translating to yes, take up space. Yes, Reave, you deserve freedom and for your own voice to be heard. That your rage and your pain and your hurt are valid and you are bigger, stronger than letting that hold you down because that's what they want.
We'll now also put out we'll talk obviously a lot about the Slatra being inside her as the other theory. If that is the case, spread your wings and roar. That is just right up that alley of talking straight to Slatra. And I'll also point out that this is one of those dedications that really hits home for us readers.
Yes.
I feel like at some point in, I'll say most of our lives, we experience some form of feeling quiet and small because we feel like that's what we deserve. And if we are small, then people won't see us as a burden, as a disappointment, as a competition, as taking up their space, as inserting your own reason here. But one of the reasons I love this dedication is because it's not just taking up space. It's not spreading your wings and fly, soar high. It's roar. When it feels the hardest, don't only take up space, but get loud too, because your voice is worth being heard. And I feel like it's a good time for all of us to remember that.
Definitely. Who is ready to jump into this beautiful prologue?
Me! Oh my God!
where we learn about how this world came to be, and it sets up the moon falling plot. Long ago, this world was created by 5 gods known as creators. First, there was Kalis, god of ether, the empty space nobody thought about, whose song was so full of substance and yet lacked it entirely. He was desperate to be heard, and it was his blank canvas that the other creators filled. So let's talk about those other creators here. The 4 other creators, they sang their songs, aka used their magic, to create this world. Boulder, the god of ground, created the globe and, well, the ground, the earth. He sculpted the terrain, creating dips and cracks in this world. He forged the wall that cut through the fade, where sunlight and shadow refused to meet. Then came Rain, the goddess of water, who filled Boulder's gorges with her affection for him, her love a streaming, crying torrent. Rain added all the lakes and the rivers, the snow on the mountain ranges with her mournful songs. Claude, the goddess of air, could not be more different from her sister, as the playful Claude's voice was, quote, a ribbon of silk, soft to touch unless it turned to the side and slit you with its edge. I love this writing so much. Claude created the winds that moved everything from leaves to waves. And then we have Ignos, the god of fire, who loved Claude so much that he could not breathe without her. Get it? Because fire needs air, fire needs oxygen. Ignos created wildfires and volcanoes, his song of ferocious hunger and impassioned greed, desperate to woo Claude with volcanic blasts and smoke for her to dance in.
So I wonder what happens if someone has, like, Claude and Ignos magic. Do they feel that dichotomy within them? Or even Rain, who has that unrequited love towards Boulder. And I wonder what happens if you have those 2 magics. Like, do you hear they're wailing for one another extra loud because it's within you? That would have been a really good question to ask Sarah. Damn it.
It's okay. We got plenty more episodes. So I'll put it on the list. Because I do wonder that as well. And I love that concept so much. So well, especially with Reave and all of the different songs that she can always hear. I wonder if that might be another component to it for her, because she's got a whole bunch of drama.
Well, that's why Claude is so fun for her, because Claude's just like, I don't give a fuck. Like, it's going off. Okay, I have a question. If you would be able to hear only one element based on their personality alone, which one would you want to hear?
I know that she's a little bit, I'll call it screechy, but definitely Claude. Maybe that's only because I know her the best. You know what? Boulder might be a good one too, because I could use some stability and grounding and kind of like that nice, like, drum beat voice, you know, to keep me grounded. I could use, you know what? I say Boulder, actually. I just talked myself into it. Exactly for that exact reason. The only thing I was like, oh, Claude would be nice, but I feel like I'm already so like, whereas if I had that constantly, I would be like, shut up. Yes. There's enough room for one of us. So all the while, as this world is getting built by these other creators, Kalis, the god of ether, has watched on in jealousy. The other creators, they can be seen, touched, and heard. But Kalis is at least glad to be part of something, because that's all he really wants. He just wants to be part of something. And from this blank canvas that he provided for the world, where the other creators painted lush life, more life and creatures began to bloom. Fae, where some of them can hear the elemental songs and find power in them, while others came upon Kalis's book of runes, finding power in the runic language. But the creatures that the creators were most proud of, the dragons, one type for each of the territories in this world. But as the Fae started using dragons to wage wars for their sprouting kingdoms and became greedy in how they learned how to shed dragon blood for their own wealth and gain, the dragons' eternal lives were starting to get cut short, and the creators did not expect the dragons to start flying skyward and curl up into balls and calcify, creating the moons. But then, not long after the dragon moons would find their perch in the sky, be hanging up in the sky, they began to fall, crashing into the world. After 7 moons fell, the other creators discovered it was Kalis to blame for the falling moons. His empty space that he yearned to be filled was strong enough to displace a dragon from its resting place and rip it from the sky. The creators devised a plan to save their world from getting smashed by these falling moons. With empty promises, they trapped the ether god Kalis by singing their songs and mincing him up into tiny little pieces small enough to entrap him in a black stone. Threads of Kalis' silver cloak tore free as he thrashed and fought as they did all of this, and these silver ribbons from his cloak are now tethered to the north and south poles of this world that now indicate the time of the aurora. Remember back in our fan guide episode where we were talking about how that time works. This black stone, this ether stone, is in a sterling diadem with the collection of runes strong enough to keep Kalis entrapped in this stone, so long as the runes have a power source, someone to feed on, a guardian. So a mighty Fae warrior known for his strength and wisdom was bestowed power by the creators, immense enough that he was able to host the ether stone upon his head and keep Kalis contained. This is the timestamp of after stone. So we are now in the age after stone, after Kalis is entrapped in the ether stone. And this gift, this extra power from the creators for this guardian, has passed down the familial line. All the while, Kalis staying contained has kept the moons securely in the sky, no more falling. The story behind this diadem slowly became myth. The true story of Kalis and the origin of the ether stone and probably the dangers of what would happen if, let's say, he was freed are lost to time. Until one aurora rise one morning when for the first time in more than 5 million phases, a moon has fallen again, even though there's still an ether stone and everything.
So we'll talk a lot about Kalis and his motives and what we think is happening with him wanting to be freed later on in this episode. But
And throughout the deep dive.
Throughout the entire deep dive. Because, sorry, you're sus, girl. You're real sus.
Oh, okay. I'm going to have an argument against that, but yes.
Oh, I'm interested. Okay. Well, okay, so here's one of the reasons I'm leaning towards Kazari or sus, is because the first moon that fell was Reave, right? Reave and Slatra.
Yes, that's my understanding, yes.
That's mine as well. That's how, like, the timestamps line up. Which means that the moons have only started falling again when Kazari has taken the ether stone and has bonded with it and started learning his language.
Yes.
That's sus. Why do you not think that's sus?
Okay, so I absolutely agree with you about the timeline, except I don't think that Kazari is necessarily sus because I think it was honestly not on purpose that she's like trying to make
I think she's
fall.
being manipulated by Kalis.
That doesn't make her sus, though.
Well, it makes both of them sus. I don't think she's being... I'll get into it later. I have an entire theory.
Okay, I think that we're a little bit more on the same page. She personally is not a bad person. That's what I think of when I hear sus.
I think she's just being manipulated by a fuckboy in a crown.
Okay, let me get into my timeline here. So let's walk through it. Elwyn bore the ether stone before her daughter, who is Kazari, and Elwyn died. Then she went up to become a moon with her dragon, and this was in 5,042 phases after stone. When her mother died and when Kazari is born is the same time, so Kazari was born in 5,042 phases. The present day with Raave's story, who remember is Elwyn, is 5,165 phases. And she has zero memory past 23 phases ago. We know from Kaan that her moon fell 23 phases ago, which means Reave and her dragon's moon fell from the sky in 5,142 phases. TLDR, Reave was a moon for 100 phases, falling in 5,142 phases after stone 100 years after she went up there. Now let's look at Kazari, because in chapter 13, she gives us her own timeline. She was born in 5,042 phases after stone, and then right before she turned 18, she took the iron off and she could hear all the wailing, so she put her iron back on for more than 80 more phases. So it is around 5,140 plus a little bit phases after stone that Kazari begins hearing and understanding Kalis. In her own words, she began, quote, learning ... too much, and she wants to set him free. And what do we know? Her mother's moon fell, and she somehow, some way came back to life within 2 phases of her daughter learning Kaelus's language, the creator who makes the moons fall. Therefore, and I'm just going to go ahead and say we, strongly believe Kazari is linked to why the moons are starting to fall again. Maybe she wanted her mother's presence so badly that she accidentally brought her back. Because that's what I love about ether magic. It is the empty space, it is the void, and yet somehow it's also everything. Scientifically, the ether element can be linked to gravity and light in the absolute simplest terms. But symbolically, ether can be connected to the concept of spirits and souls, the abstract tethered to this reality. So for instance, like for pop culture reference, the Force from Star Wars is like ether. So I think with this seemingly limitless power that is everything and nothing all at once, we are going to learn just what Kaelus is capable of, and therefore what Kazari is capable of, because she can hear him. And it's because of this power her mother's moon fell, and how she came back to life. And now more moons are falling in these past 23 phases. And I don't think it's because Kazari is purposefully making these moons fall, but because she has no idea what to do with all this power. She doesn't even realize what she has unlocked and that she really and truly has access to. And Kaelus, like you're saying, is manipulating, potentially wielding through her.
Yes.
I think he's more of a misunderstood creator than a villain in this story.
I think he's definitely, I think 2 things. One, he is someone who had so much to say and yet could not get the substance, as we learned in the prologue. So he's someone who wants so desperately to be a part of something. And when he finally starts adding to this world by making moons fall, the other 4 creators trap him in a diadem.
But I don't think that the moon's falling was on purpose. I think that they blamed him.
No, I think it was him saying, I want to be heard. I want to be heard. I'm going to contribute too.
Oh, see, I don't think that it was on purpose. I think that it was literally just his existence, this empty space, this gravity ended up pushing the moons, and it's not his fault. So that's why I think that he's as misunderstood, is because the other creators villainized him when he's like, I don't know what I'm even doing here. I didn't mean to.
I can get behind that. What I do think is going to put him in... Villain isn't the right word by any means, but working against our main characters, I'll put it that way, antagonist, is I think that he has a lot of pent up anger towards the other gods for trapping him. And one of the reasons he wants to be freed is to maybe get his own retaliation.
Okay.
Whew.
And that's the prologue, everybody.
Oh my God. Okay, taking a quick break from Kazari, Kaelus, the gods, the fairies, because good old God, do we have so much more to say about that. Let's talk about Mama, aka our FMC, Reave. Reave has pale skin and deep black hair. We know that she can speak to all of the elements, but she is very good at compartmentalization. So she doesn't really think twice about burying that knowledge down as deep as possible. She only allows through chaotic Claude. Reave is basically a master at wielding or speaking that elemental language.
I love how Reave feels his kinship with the creator Claude. They are very similar with their playfulness and their manicness. I love when Rave's like, Claude's such a crazy, spiteful bitch. I love her. Shout out also to the audiobook narration for capturing Rave's tone so well throughout this book. And Claude very much has her own personality. Really all the creators do, but Claude especially. Like how Reave thinks Claude can be so loud, she wants to plug her ears, but Reave would not dare do such a thing because it would offend Claude and put Reave on her bad side. I love these creator personalities.
I hope that next book, well, I'm assuming next book, we're going to get more of that connection to these elements because I'm assuming we're going to get more Kaan POV. Reave might open up more to Boulder or maybe Rain. We'll see. She's a little hesitant to touch Rain and she's absolutely refusing to touch Ignos. But I could see us getting a little bit more Boulder next book, especially with Kaan as well.
I'd love to get Kaan with Ignos as well.
Oh my God. Even though Reave wears an iron ring to drown out Claude's chaos, we get subtle hints that she wears the ring to drown out the other elements too that, have we mentioned, she refuses to listen to.
I just love picking up on all these subtleties on a reread, like how she isolates Claude's melody and she sings like a creator. I wonder if it's typical for extra powerful people or for the familial line bearing the responsibility of the Aetherstone to sing extremely well. Like the creators gifted a beautiful singing voice to encourage them to sing their songs.
I love that.
However, Reave does not wear the required elemental bead to show everyone what element or elements she can wield. She should have a clear bead to show that she can hear Claude's elemental and that she can wield air. But she has the clip of a null, meaning it looks like she is a second-class citizen who has no magical abilities. From Rafe's perspective, she doesn't want people to know what she's capable of. So my impression is that she made sure to get herself the null clip. And most likely because of her, I'll call it unique return Earthside as an adult 23 phases ago, she was able to stay under the radar, unlike younglings who are weeded out whether they can hear the creators or not.
Yes, and I do think that the Fioruath helped get her clipped so that she can be undercover in missions. We don't have that confirmed, but that's my headcanon.
I bet you're right, yeah.
This line truly sums up everything we need to know about Rave's character. She says, quote, "Sadness is like stones that stack up inside you, making it harder to move. Ignorance is my self-preservation tonic, and I'll swear by it until I die." So good. That is so Rave. Oh my God. And relatable. I love that. For 23 phases that Reave has been back Earthside, Reave has no memory of who she was or the people in her life beforehand. Because, yeah, she used to be the Princess of the Shade, Elowan Reave, married to Tyrock Vagor until she died. Of what? We get clues, but we're not sure on a full answer, but we'll speculate when we get to those sections of the book. When she died, she and her dragon Slatra balled up and went into the sky, calcified, and became a giant hanging moon until 100 phases later when that particular moon fell. After falling, she was captured by someone named the Scavenger King, who we learned throughout the book tortured her with fire regularly.
Throughout the book, I find it fascinating that we really only get glimpses into Rave's backstory. Like in chapter 1, when she's asked if she knows Ballad of the Fallen Moon, she thinks back to the Ergor Plains that she once walked alone, with someone else's blood frosted to her rags that clung to her skeleton body. Did this blood belong to Fallon or to the Scavenger King, like that she wounded him to escape? How does the ballad fit into this memory? Is it connected to Fallon?
I think Fallon taught her Ballad of the Falling Moon. I don't have that confirmed, but that's, again,
That's
my
kind of my guess too, yeah.
And I definitely think the blood belonged to Fallon, because I'm assuming that Fallon died. Reave went all other crazy. Maybe that was one of the first times she went all other crazy, and that's how she escaped the Scavenger King. We do not have this confirmed. This is just my headcanon.
Because all we know is that once Fallon just didn't wake up and her body was cold. And so
Fallon.
I worry that she was like tortured so much that she didn't wake up. And that, I bet you're right, is when Reave, that other activated, really and truly for the first time there. Yes.
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
But back to the Ergor Plains, they are just south of the Fade's wall, which reminds me, that's the direction of the Elding's safe haven, the Flourish. What if Reave was closer to the supposed safe haven than she thought? I know we're going to talk way more about this, but I'm just kind of teeing up that question right now.
I have read this book like 7,000 times, and this is one of those things that I'm in my reread for the deep dive. I'm like, holy shit, is where the Elding is, what we don't know about him. Oh my God, I can't wait to get into that. But that was such a good catch. Oh my God. After somehow freeing herself from the Scavenger King, Reave was completely lost and filled with this rage, and she was approached by a group called the Fior du Ath, a group of rebels working against the crown of the Fade. We've covered FMCs who want to, no matter how guilty the person, save every life. We've covered FMCs who have that humanity, who kick in right before killing a person. Not Reave. No, God. Oh, no. She has a deep moral compass that is her driving force in life that we're going to keep returning regularly to in this deep dive. And Reave murders frequently because A, it's her job as an Elding Blade, but also because she loves exacting justice. And what does she do with that money that she gets as part of said job? She keeps what only she needs to survive, to support her and her roommate Essie, but she regularly donates to the sick, the poor, and the hungry of the Undercity. So she is a killer, but with very strong morals.
Reave was not alone imprisoned by the Scavenger King, and we learn bits and pieces about this person named Fallon. She was Rave's found family, a light of good in this world. Fallon taught Reave how to speak and write, so we can gather that Reave lost those abilities when she was up as a moon. Fallon would explain the world of color, and she sketched the moons up in their cells so that they could look at them. I love how much Rave's worldview is shaped by Fallon's positivity. Reave wants to live. She wants to love this big, beautiful world, and she clings to the small joys because I think that Fallon looked at the world in that way despite their terrible circumstances, and that really just sank into Reave once when she was able to go and experience the world in any kind of way.
Am I the only one desperate to know what Fallon's backstory is? How did she get to the Scavenger King? Maybe we'll shoot our shot with a signal of Sarah in the coming episodes, because that is something that I would really find fascinating, because Fallon doesn't give I was born in the Undercity Essie style.
Exactly.
She gives much more topside because obviously she's seen the sky, she's lived a life, she's looked at the moon so much that she can memorize them.
Yes, I'm so curious about Fallon too. So there's a moment at the end of chapter 11 when Reave reflects on how Fallon used to tell her that she would wish upon the moons and sometimes her wishes would come true. Fallon called it magic. And I don't know if it's something, but I had to pull it out because this is a fantasy world with magic. But that wasn't even what I was meaning to say there. So I also wonder how old Fallon is.
Yeah.
Because from the sound of it, Reave wonders if Fallon referred to the wonderful living like the Shade used to be. Which means that Fallon was alive when the old king of the Fade was ruling, before Kadok Vagor impregnated and married the king of the Fade's daughter. And once when he began reigning, he turned it into a military might. So I bet also that the Vagor family is behind all these other royal family deaths where his two sons conveniently then rule and they control all three kingdoms. But anyway, I just thought that was something interesting about Fallon and her potential age. So Fallon made Reave believe in a life worth living. And Reave is not living a free life like she promised Fallon, making her feel like Fallon's death is a worse tragedy than it already was. But she is at least in a position to get justice for others. Finally coming back to the whole point of me bringing this up. Because she is working towards systematic freedom for taking these kings down and helping a few others along the way. Reave honestly knows that it's her own way of making herself feel good about her own life that she feels like she is failing to live up to. But I think that she deserves more credit than she's giving herself. Reave really and truly does help others, knowing all too well what a caged and traumatic life can be like. Helping others is her small way of saying fuck you to the system that actively works against these people who deserve help. And by literally just helping them is a way of standing up to that oppression that all of them are experiencing. Raive's sense of survival, forged in these torturous flames, keeps her upright and moving forward. In the beginning chapters, we really do learn a lot about Reave. She's smart and strategic. She's outspoken and stubborn. She's angry at the king's society and his injustices. She's dedicated to making herself useful. Then she becomes indispensable, as she's learned. And at least as an Elding Blade, she gets to dish out justice for those who deserve it, especially for a sick fuck like Tarek.
Reave has self-proclaimed stabby hands. Basically, she was always itching to exact that justice on these people who are oppressing the helpless. We'll see in a moment with not only how she does this to Tarek, but also the complete lack of remorse for the horrid way that he dies. In fact, she actually wishes his suffering could have been elongated, or she kept him alive so that when she yeeted him into the ditch, he could have felt the stab that went through his chest when he landed.
Hindsight's 2020, right?
She's like, missed opportunity. I love her inner monologue. God, it's so good. This right here is that itchiness for justice. It's something we're going to see time and time again, not only as her role in the Fior du Ath, but also especially throughout the rest of the book when it comes to Rek Zaros.
And what is the Fjord du Ath, you ask? Allow me to explain. Meaning, from the ashes. The Fjord du Ath is the rebellion group working to counteract the tyranny spreading across the kingdoms. The Fjord du Ath stand for protecting those who cannot protect themselves. The sick, the starving, the gnolls, younglings both elemental and dull. Their reach stretches all over the world, but they are predominantly active in the Fade, which is where Reave lives. They have an underground safe haven called the Flourish, which is rumored to be somewhere in the south, and it is ruled by the Elding. I bet you anything we are going there when we go south. And when I hear south, I do think like toward the shade, or at least just further south in the shade. And I just can't help but wonder what if in her past life as Eowyn, she was somehow connected to the Elding. Crack theory that feels very fantasy. Her brother is really alive and is the Elding. I'm mostly joking. He is calcified up in the moon with his dragon.
No, he is very, very dead. But I love where you're going. Oh my God.
But if it turns out to be right, then no, I was not joking.
Okay, I was going to be talking about this later, but I'm pulling this up now because I absolutely agree with you. Considering Reave is on the southmost side of the reach of the Fade, I'm assuming that because the Flourish is south of where she is, it has to be in the shade. I absolutely think it has some connection to the Neville. What if it was like her father's old like advisor or something like that, where like he knows who the Navon family used to be, and he's working against the Vaegor brothers because they literally fucking trashed the kingdoms. Except for Kaan. No matter what, I think there is 100% a reason we have yet to meet the Elding, and I think we're going to meet him next book.
I agree. So going off of what I was saying earlier about the Ergor plains that Reave crossed to get into the Fade, those plains are also south. So maybe a crack theory again, but what if the Elding is not so good? What if the Elding is like the scavenger king who is trying to bring down these tyrant kings? The small glass orb that shows that someone is with the Fjord du Ath is an incarnated depiction of the mythical Elding bird hatchling from a bulb of flame, like the phoenix rising from the ashes after all. And what if Reave was being kept in the dark corners of the Floris until she escaped?
Well, one thing I'll also say on this, I'm not sure if I'm ready to hop on this ship yet, but I will throw out this other thing is he called her Firelark. Elding bird, fire lark. So two winged creatures. That's a very big stretch there.
Yes.
But why would she literally have been taken from the Elding to immediate? Well, I guess that would be one reason why Sareem immediately found her. She was able to get a tip off.
What if he doesn't know who she is necessarily?
Oh, we just know that she has his favor.
Exactly. But she's never met him. She doesn't know anything else about him.
I would hate that for Reave. Oh, God.
I would too. And I will say there is the whole conversation between Reave and Sareem, where Sareem says that they are not going to try and usurp the king of the Fade until the Elding deems it so. That is a loaded sentence, and we'll want to keep a close eye on the rebellion and the Elding, as well as on the king of the Fade, who has been at his military base so far. Killing the king would create a political vacuum with no one to replace. So I will say that does complicate my idea that the Elding could be the Scavenger King, because we know from the very end of the book that the Scavenger King, who is also the fourth half-brother, has his sights on the burn and specifically killing Kaan, versus scenario where the Elding seems to be holding back for some reason with killing these other kings. Or maybe it's until he's himself in more of a position of power.
I think I'm going to stick with my idea that it is a member of the Navon family and / or Navon advisory committee, because they saw what it was like when the world was not ruled by the Vaegors. And one reason they are holding back is because they also know how these tyrant Vaegors can be very military mites, specifically Tyrok and Kadok. So I think I'm leaning that. I think they're good.
I think you're right, and she has still come from south, and I know that there's a lot south.
There's a lot south.
I do think that the Flourish and where she came from are not as far from each other as we might be led to think.
Okay. Wait.
We are not making a bet yet. I'm
Why?
not making any more bets in episode 1, Nicole.
Why?
I have learned my lesson.
Aw, lame.
I'm not making a bet about that. I'm just having fun with crack theories here.
Lexi.
Back to the Fear de Ath. Oh my gosh. Back to the Fear du Ath, because that's what I'm trying to focus on here. The rebel group has an established hierarchy that goes the Elding, who is the head of the Fear du Ath, and this is a mysterious character who we don't really know much about yet. Then there are high-ranking members of the Fear du Ath, like Raive's boss, but more like a master, Sareem. These are the people that keep the day-to-day missions running and make sure members stay in line and do their job. Or in the case of Sareem and Reave, making sure Reave knows that she's trapped and does not have a choice but to do as she's told. Sareem is able to do this because of the silver rune-etched vial she wears around her neck. This vial holds Raive's blood, and it is a way for Sareem to basically control Reave. Sareem first found Reave when the other was overtaking her and made Reave hers. She's a strong and deadly weapon, tethered to Sareem.
And we can assume that Reave is still connected and able to be controlled by the vial later on in the book. I'm not talking about just those chapters. So I do wonder if this is going to come back into play later where she'll be like summoned and they're like, oh, you're not dead. Where have you been? You're out of PTO, girl. Get back in the ring.
I think, first of all, they all think that yes, they do think that she's dead, but I do think that there is some distance related to this where Reave would have to be physically closer to Sareem, but again, we don't know that, but I'm assuming that's usually how magic works.
Where the Elding is, they would be able to like
Maybe.
Moving
on, there are Elding Blades, the assassins for the Fear du Ath. This is what Reave is. Besides the Elding Blades, the assassins, are the rest of the members. Unlike the Elding Blades, who handle the bloodier tasks, these members handle all the rescue missions or intercepting carriages of young elemental conscripts, freeing the younglings with the severed hand, all that good stuff.
Last thing on Reave, because we're still just on Raive's setup here, is one of the things that we're going to keep coming back to is that Reave and Elwyn are not strangers to both feeling trapped. Elwyn was trapped by the customs expected of her by the Tri-Council, her decision, not even decision, their decision to hand over them to the Burn King at the time, which was Kaan's father. Reave then was with the Scavenger and literally a definition of a prisoner. And now being part of the Elding Blades, it's far freer than where she's been previously, but it's a false sense of freedom. And this is given to her with how she's treated by Sareem, and
she's literally tortured. Yeah.
She's literally expected to come whenever called and do Sareem and the Elding's bidding. And she thinks that when she kills Tarek and about the children and how they're finally going to be set free, it's a type of true freedom that Reave will never be able to fully understand. As a part of the Fear du Ath, Reave is able to stand up for the little guy and fight for others' freedom. And yet, she is still lacking that own freedom for herself. It is a better situation than being with the Scavenger King. Fuck yeah, obviously. But she is acutely aware of the invisible shackles. This is really important as we go through Reave in the story, because that freedom is constantly being dangled in front of her, and she's chasing it and chasing it and chasing it, and yet rarely receives it. But we will see her have it, and her do some very strange things with it.
And damn, does she hate Sareem for taking advantage of her when she was in a vulnerable state, selling her on revenge and empty promises. And she's only gotten a little fraction of that. Yeah. When our story begins, we readers are dropped right into when all the action is setting off the dominoes of this plot. Reave is on an assassination mission as she steps into the tavern, the Hungry Hollow, with a plan. Under the name Kimori Daffodone, Reave is masquerading as a traveling bard from Org, a settlement by the wall. Has she ever been there? Nope, but she does know everything about it just in case someone asks questions. With this fake identity, she's not acting like herself Reave. She's very demure, small, submissive as Komori. But changing her name and appearance is not just to hide her identity as an assassin. She is also dressed to draw the attention specifically of her target, Lord Tariq Relican. More on that shithead in a bit.
Can we also talk about the poetic brilliance that is Reave's opening chapter is her pretending to be someone else? She's not even her own identity. And all this time, she's Elowen Devon.
I love it. She doesn't know that she isn't just Reave with a whole other very important identity. She does not remember Elowen, but she very purposefully does not try or want to know anything about her past. According to Reave, her job is to, quote, take out the trash nobody else wants to muddy their hands with, sweeping the path clear of any filth that might prevent the Ath from completing its mission. Reave considers the specific job Reave is on right now as a risk to their entire cause just to keep Reave happy, even hindering political progress, whatever that means. According to Serene, this job, it does not meet the standard of an Ath job, and thus she makes Reave pay for it herself, without telling her, of course. Meaning, yeah, Tariq is a bad guy, but he was not the rebel group's kind of bad guy. Therefore, this mission is more like a side quest. It's for moral goodness only, no ulterior motive or political production.
So we learned that there's a mysterious tip-off that the Fjord Duath got that Tariq would be at the Hungry Hollow this night, but we don't know who sent the message to the Ath. So our inaugural first signal Sarah is here. We decided to ask her who was the person who gave the tip-off, and she said, quote, I'm going to leave that one up to debate. God damn it, Sarah! I love you! So who was it? Was it Kaan? Was it Levy?
I think it was Levy, because that does bring me to my theory. I'm so full of theories.
You are so full of theories. This is so exciting.
I think Levy was the tip-off through Rek as his way to ensure someone from the Fjord Duath would show up to Levy's trap here. And it was all part of a setup. Levy was searching for the Fjord Duath at the Hungry Hollow, because that's way too big of a coincidence that Levy just so happens to have a tracking rune to place on the Ath, and the Fjord Duath get a tip-off to go to the exact location where the bad guy is. And then I also assume that Levy is the informant the soldier mentions in chapter 15 when giving Rave's physical description. However, that sends me spiraling even more, because Reave thinks it's the funniest thing that the next day after she came across Tariq's operations a little while ago, Tariq's bounded, meaning his wife, sought the Fjord Duath out. That part always stands out to me, where it's like, is this some kind of coincidence? Or is it an Easter egg where someone, like Rek, has been playing chess to lure out the Fjord Duath, specifically the favorite Eldine Blade, with this entire operation?
That's good. That's real good.
There's your debate, Sarah.
That's not even a debate. That's just dropping lyrics there. It's so good. Okay, so while at the Hungry Hollow, Reave meets this fellow performer, Levy, a pregnant fiddle player Null, who's incredibly kind to Komori Daffodone, taking her under her wing, telling her about creepy patrons at the Hungry Hollow, cough, cough, Tariq Relican, and even offering to have her bound, aka her husband, walk Komori home, probably because she sees how Tariq is looking at Reave/Komori, and she's seen this happen before. Overall, Levy seems like a great person. Reave is not someone who lets her guard down, but Levy seems innocent, kind, hoping to keep Reave safe. And Reave wants to ease that anxiety she knows she's having and saying there's nothing to worry about, don't worry. So she shows Levy her Fjord Duath badge, so to speak. Like you're saying, it's more that glass orb where it's like that wholly transparent mythical elding bird coming out of a flame in the middle, which is so fucking cool.
Yes, this is Rave's way of assuring Levy that she is actually the dangerous one, and she will be taking out the trash for this piece of shit, which, yay, should be good since Levy has made it clear she worries about the girls Tariq sets his sights on.
Yes, like she sounds like they're on the same quote-unquote side. So Reave, thinking that Levy, pregnant, kind, fae, female, is a safe person, well, Levy then hands Reave her quote-unquote information. But it's actually the tracking rune for Rexaros to find her. Levy, no! Why? To be fair, it does seem like Levy is very sad to do it, since when she sees the Elding symbol, her face falls. And yet, this allows for Rek to find out where a member of the Fear Duath lives, and by killing Essie, is able to lure Reave out of her home and catch her for the crown.
It is cruel irony that in a moment of humanity, of offering trust to someone that she really doesn't give very much, it backfires so horribly for Reave. Rek is hoping that this tracking rune will take him to the Fear Duath headquarters, but nope, instead it leads him to where a grunt assassin lives with her roommate. So like Nicole said, in order to lure the assassin, who happens to be Reave, out of her hiding place, Rek kills her loved one, setting a trap for Reave as she seeks revenge, and enabling Rek to capture this Fear Duath member and hand her over to the crown, all the while trying to get information from her as well. This does make me wonder, has Rexaros been specifically hunting Reave? Like he already knows exactly who she is? Or I'm more under the impression he knows her by reputation as a good Elding Blade who is the Elding's favorite. Therefore, Rek thinks that she is the key to taking down the rebellion. And that's why Sareem is like, stay low, stay in hiding. He is looking for the favorite Elding Blade versus looking for Reave specifically, since he does seem surprised by her when they meet.
That's exactly my understanding as well. And also, Rek believes that if they hand over the favorite Elding Blade, I mean, imagine how the crown is going to reward Rexaros if he hands over the favorite Elding Blade. Like, Homeboy is entirely doing this for his own gain with the crown.
And by capturing the Elding Blade, first of all, again, he's trying to find their headquarters. And even Reave is like, they're going to try to come save me.
Yeah.
And
yes. Well,
if
Uno
they
does.
had gone and tried to save her, everybody would have died because the rebellion, would have been squashed.
Oh, it's so bad. Now, we know that there's some mad hot propaganda right now going around about the Fear Duath and how they steal children and they're evil against the crown. So I do wonder if Levy is someone who believes that. She's pregnant. She might be fearful of that for her own child. Or I did wonder, is she more connected to Rek than we thought?
I think that she was an easy target for Rek to be this middle person, being a pregnant, impoverished null who can't afford to turn down what he's offering her, whether that be food or money, or maybe even he's threatening her and her family's safety. As a pregnant person, that would be at the very forefront of her mind to protect her own family there. And then I'm thinking that when Levy realizes that it is Reave, who she's been getting along with all night, it does make her sad because she's like, oh, now I have to trick you. And she literally does give Reave a look like they're never going to see each other again, foreshadowing that, yep, she knows that Reave is now going to die because of her actions.
Okay, well, we decided to signal Sarah about this and ask her what Levy's relationship is to Mr. Rexaros. And here is what she said, quote, Rek is a weasel who knows how to get what he wants. Levy is in no way fond of Rek, but he did have leverage over her, and he used that to bait her like a fishing hook. You were right, Lexi.
It just feels like a nice little gold star when that happens. I'm not going to lie, it feels so good.
However, today's mission is not about Rek. We're going back to chapter 1 and talking about Tarek Relican. Lord Tarek Relican is known for eyeing girls from the Hungry Hollow, having them never be seen again.
Boo! You suck, Tarek!
You suck on a stick, Tarek Relican. On top of that, he runs a seedy business in the Undercity. His operation is quite literally like its own city, including an amphitheater-sized battle pit, sleeping headquarters for the patrons who enjoy watching the fights. Oh, who's fighting? Children. Children who are in cells when they're not in the battle pits. Let's put a pin in that for a moment. But these children are gnolls.
Thank goodness for Reave. That's all I'm going to say, getting to exact justice.
These children are gnolls that he snatched off the wall or even purchased from desperate parents who didn't have the resources to keep them fed. They hoped that selling their younglings would give them a fighting chance at life. Pun not entirely intended. But the truth is that they are being held captive in cages that can only be unlocked by Tarek's handprint, some of which are also in dire need of a healer. I love the line where it's like they don't look malnourished, but there's more than one way to starve a soul. Oh my God, that writing is gorgeous. This is why this operation has landed him so high on Rave's hit list. The fact that this is something that she convinced the Elding to go through with, when technically they weren't even focused on Tarek, they were focused on the crown, is a really big deal. Reave, however, who is in that good standing with the mysterious Elding, she did convince her superiors that this mission needs to happen. Remember, she's an assassin with morals. Jumping ahead a little bit, though, after dressing up to fit his perfect victim in a bright red dress for his Ignos-hearing black soul, Reave lures him away from the busy Hungry Hollow into the dead of night.
Yep, this Tarek is a proud red bead elemental, meaning he can wield fire, and he loves the color red. In fact, people Reave meets in these early chapters who she does not particularly like have red beads, like that female also who looks down on her as a gnoll.
I love that because it's like she hates fire so much. So I do think that that's also a little bit of that. We're in Rave's POV. Yes. We are going to see the things that she hates the most because she's going to focus on them the most.
Yes.
Oh, that's so good. God, I love that style of authoring. Once in a secluded area, Reave uses Claude to airbend the breath from his lungs and swiftly draws her blade, removing his hand before he even knows what's happening. She drops this hand down a trash chute where another member of the Ath is waiting to catch the hand and work on helping the victims. I love this moment where we see how well-oiled the Ath really is. Like, that's such a cool moment where we see just how this operation is big.
Yes. And since remember, they literally do need Tarek's hand to open the children's cells and free them.
While Tarek is still alive, Reave takes her time carving his crimes into his chest. Rapist, child abuser, ass. I love the line that's like self-explanatory. This is something we know she does with all of her victims. I'm not sure if this is a Fjord Ath practice or just Reave in the Elding Blades.
It's my understanding that it's just a her thing, especially because when it is time for her trial, it'll be so obvious that it's her
God, I love her. As she's about to finish Tarek off, he mouths, because remember, he has no air from clothes, the word mercy. Oh, and she's pissed. She's so pissed that he would do such a thing. Going back to how Reave is such a different FMC, she is not someone to hear that plea and crack because it calls to her humanity. No, she hears that word and she thinks of all the times that someone said that to him and he didn't give a fuck. I also wonder how this reflects back on her and the Scavenger King, how he burnt her and Fallon, and maybe did one of them, probably Fallon, because we know Reave couldn't really say anything or didn't really say anything. Did one of them ask for mercy and the Scavenger King didn't get it? So this is another way of her exacting justice for Fallon. Once Reave is done, she lands the final blow by slicing his throat wide open. Even as dead, she does not give him grace. She I'm just going to keep saying it. She yeets his body unceremoniously through a hole in the wall, and he lands on the other edge of the shade, so shade-born predators can nibble on him.
But her assassination mission of a slime ball is not the only thing that happens in these early chapters. Literally on page 10 of this book, while on the stairs, Reave runs into a tall, broad, and cloaked male. He's got a well-shaped beard.
Well-shaped butt is what I heard.
And has the best scent Reave has ever smelled.
That's
everybody,
right.
our MMC. Kaan Vagor, King of the Burn, who just so happens to be visiting the Fade and going to the Hungry Hollow himself.
So I do know from a different interview at our friends Between Pages and Friends, they had Sarah on, and they asked her what Kaan was doing at the Hungry Hollow. And she said that he was there early, ready to meet up with Kazari. So that is where him and Kazari met, and that's why he is there so early.
Yes. Which means he's going to keep appearing in these chapters as Reave is carrying out her mission. First, they're passing each other on the stairs, where he is so surprised to run into her that he stops in his tracks, and then he'll be watching her sing all evening. We'll get to his POV in a moment, where Kaan literally happens to run into his long-lost love he's thought is dead for over 100 phases. But let's look at his looming presence and fixated interest on Reave from her perspective. Because her danger radar is up. She has absolutely no idea who he is. He went up to try to grab her veil off of her face, and he just won't stop staring at her. Then it appears that he's following her. So understandably, Reave is worried that her operation she has worked so hard for is in jeopardy. Who is this powerful big male? Why is he so interested in her? Does he know that she's more than just a null performer? It doesn't matter how good he smells. Rave's like, fuck, now I have two monsters. One is Tarek, with how she is clearly entrapping him with her appearance and demeanor to lure him to a quiet place to kill him. And the other is this mysterious male who might be jeopardizing her entire mission because he's so fixated on her. This male is beautiful and powerful and big, and he also has a mysterious black cuff on his ear instead of beads. Then he appears when she's about to kill Tarek, which makes her almost kill him, but she plays it off cool. Kaan has his own radar up, knowing Tarek is not up to anything good, though Reave is just annoyed that his presence is still on her. She wants him to go away and leave her alone so that she can kill this guy in peace. And then Kaan appears again after she jumps Tarek's body over, and the only reason she does not kill Kaan in this moment to eliminate any witnesses is because Kaan agrees that Tarek was a monster, so Reave puts him in her safe box. Again, going back to her morals, she will be more than happy to kill anyone who puts her mission at risk. And yet, she's not so quick to kill someone if there is that chance that they are on her side. Reave is admittedly intrigued by him. He's not scared of her, but he's clearly interested in her and her revealing her full face for whatever reason, because he doesn't know if it's his girl and thinks he's going mad. But he's also somehow respectful of her. Things aren't adding up for Reave. Why is he asking if she's okay? Why is he respecting her boundaries? So while he is in the safe box for now, she'll still place a sawtooth blade order, just in case she has to cut him up later.
Now let's jump to Kaan's POV, or at least what we can assume, because this is a mindfuck. For 123 phases, Kaan has been mourning the day that Slatra and Eloin flew into the sky and calcified. We do not know all that happened and went down that day, but we do know he saw her go up into the sky, so he was somehow there. And then when the moon fell, he has spent now 23 phases finding all of the pieces of the fallen moon, knowing that it would bring Eloin's spirit so much peace if her beloved Slatra was pieced back together.
So Kaan is already here in the Fade to track down said moon shards. According to Kaan, the queen owes him a favor, and his brother, the king of the shade, is elsewhere. So Kaan can come into the city for his business without issue of his older brother that he would very much like to kill. But that's not all, like Nicole said, because he did receive word from his niece to meet him. So woohoo, great timing. Now he has two reasons to be in the Fade. But I like to call these encounters with Reave fate intervention or destiny.
So imagine you're Kaan and you're walking down the stairs of a pub. People are fucking on tables left and right or whatever.
Go and meet up with your niece,
You're going to go meet up with your niece at this establishment because sure. And then you just come face to face with the love of your life and you think you're absolutely going mad and you're like, no, it's not her, it's not her. And then she speaks. And I love this because he says nothing. He only takes his hand to lift up and try to take off her veil. He is so stunned. He's at a complete loss for words. And except the noise that comes out of him, quote, a dense grated sound crumbles out of him. I love the word crumbles because he's crumbling. Can you imagine? He is right now only seeing half of her face, and he's also noticing a null clip on her ear, and he's like, I'm going crazy.
But I know that smell. That's his Eloin. But none of it is adding up because the love of his life is supposed to be dead.
But then to see her later in the snow after Tarek's death, and to see that she's not just this demure singer dressed in red, that she murdered a man, he's like, this is Eloin. This is very Eloin behavior, who is not someone, especially after she trained with Bea, she is not someone to take shit sitting down. I also really want to commend Kaan, because when Reave says, don't follow me, he listens to her. He has been mourning her for 123 phases, and yet he listens to that command from her and instead goes back to the Hungry Hollow to meet with Kazari. Good job. You'd probably be dead otherwise, or you'd probably be at least a little beat up, and maybe she would be too, because I think he's pretty equally matched with Reave, but gold star.
Yes, Kaan gets a gold star. Seriously wondering if this person is his long-lost love who died over 100 phases ago, but then her moon fell 23 phases ago, and he has the willpower just to walk away. I mean, yes, because it all feels too impossible, but I'm really just looking for every opportunity to give this wonderful, patient, sexy male every gold star that I possibly can.
We've had multiple DMs of people being like, don't give Kaan a single L. No. Where?
I don't know where we would. I know, right?
Literally nowhere. Even when he snaps at Reave, I'm like, she deserved it.
Exactly. He's putting up his own boundaries.
Yeah, I'm proud of him. He deserves to do that.
Essie, Rave's home. We arrive at Rave's home sweet home, even though she tries to stay unattached to these living quarters and her roommate. Have we mentioned Reave likes to keep her emotional walls up? Companionship means to care about someone else. And to care about someone else, or really anything too much, then the more fragile everything becomes. Comfort, care, love, and a sense of home makes Reave vulnerable, so she tries to avoid it. But it is present in her life anyway. I love how she attracts these comforts because that's like what she really wants. But then once when it's there, she's trying to keep it away. But it's like, that's all you really want, Reave. This residence has become a home, especially with the wonderful Essie, whether Rave's willing to admit it or not. Because as Reave will be reminded, again, sadly too soon, when she cares, it means that she has someone important to lose, and that is ingrained in her. And yes, this is all very important with the concept of home and comfort and her vulnerability for us to highlight as we return to this concept of home later on in the burn in later episodes.
Essie is Rave's closest friend and chosen family. I'm using that term loosely, as we'll get into in a second. Reave rescued Essie from the Undercity and took Essie in after her parents left for work one day in the mines and sadly never returned. They both pretend not to worry about each other and they don't really hide it very well. They both do little things for each other, like Reave buying Essie supplies and Essie baking Rave's favorite breads and making runed objects for her. Speaking of those runed objects, Essie is extraordinarily smart. She ruined their home to ward off intruders. She also makes tooth caps. The diamond tooth cap she's currently working on is designed to emit an invisible and impenetrable barrier around Rave's chest and head. Did I mention that she has not trained to do this? This is just how wicked smart she is.
Yes, and she is also technically a gnoll.
Yeah.
So she does have the clipped ear and she cannot hear the elemental songs. But again, remember, that does not necessarily mean that you cannot use any kind of magic. She taught herself how to become a Rooney, even though she did not have the structure to have that opportunity for herself.
Yay, Essie! Essie is a very straightforward person. She does not beat around the bush, especially when it comes to her work. She does not joke around, always telling it how it is. Her work is her everything, and she won't do anything to jeopardize that. Excuse me, Essie, get out of my head. She also has a bad habit of reading Rave's parchment larks, and she puts it as my eyes slipped. But like Reave, Essie has a dark past. We learn in this stretch of chapters, like I mentioned, that Essie is from an abandoned mine shaft where her parents left and sadly died at their work. Reave then found Essie running around the miners' muck hall with stolen bread, and she was dressed in rags. Heartbreakingly, Essie had never seen the sky, only living in the Dragon Bloodstone mines. But Reave took her under her wing. While Essie may still have her dark moments, as Reave puts it, she has her episodes. But I actually want to highlight this real quick. She once stood over Reave in the middle of slumber, the middle of night, and demanded that Reave fill a jar with blood. What the fuck?
She's like, oh yeah, that's just one of Essie's episodes. And it's like, we say that, but also I imagine us, Nicole, let's say that you and I were roommates. And I could totally, I know, right? Like, just freeze over that part real quickly.
I think we'd be great roommate. Not when we were children. We were horrible roommates when we were children. I'm shocked we didn't kill each other. But now I think we'd be great roommates.
Yes. Anyway. I can totally see you just standing over my bed being like, Lexi, I need something for the story right now. I need you. It's just like so, it's like, Nicole. Actually, no, you know what? That doesn't happen because I'm the weird one between the two of us who works outside of normal working hours. So I was thinking it'd be more like me coming to you with all of that craziness.
I will never forget the day. It was before our very first live show. Oh, no. It was before our very first live interview with Rebecca Yaros. And we only had the electronic version of our notes. We didn't have any note cards version of it. And like 3 hours before we needed to leave, I was in the middle of doing my hair. And I come out into the living room and I'm like, Hayden, I need you to make note cards. I need note cards right now. And Hayden's like, I have no idea what you're saying. Hayden's like, it was like you were sleepwalking. Anyway, listen, Essie's relatable. That's all I'm saying. Okay, they have been family ever since that fateful day that Reave took her under her wing. But Reave would never admit that familial bond out loud. As she notes, Reave pretends not to care about Essie, and Essie pretends not to care about Reave. Again, I'm going to call this 100% an unreliable narrator moment. Of course, Essie consistently shows how she cares about Reave through baking and through working on her inventions to keep Reave safe and more. Reave just refuses to put a name to it since the moment she does, she believes Essie is going to be in immediate danger because everyone she cares for dies.
Reave gets to be for Essie what Fallon was for her. She shows Essie the aurora sky for the first time, just like Fallon described it to Reave. She takes Essie under her wing like Fallon had done for her as much as she could being in a cell. Reave promised to keep Essie safe in a way that she was not able to keep Fallon safe. And I think that she sees a lot of herself in Essie, and she has a very soft spot for her. Plus a fierce protectiveness. Reave doesn't like Essie going into the Undercity because it's dangerous. She's determined and dedicated to keeping Essie out of harm's way because they are each other's family, no matter what Reave says to herself about that. And Reave makes it her responsibility to protect the younger female, so smart and so full of wonder. Essie is full of life and love, even if her favorite color is black, and it is a balm to Rave's heart.
Essie is not the only being in the apartment, though, being used as a light term. After going into Rave's personal sleep suite, she opens a box that she keeps in a hidden hollow, and out flutters an old parchment lark.
And real quickly, that hidden hollow, there's like a sculpture of a moon plume nestled in there. Parchment larks are a reliable and very common form of communication in this world. It's one of my favorite magical elements ever. They are runed squares of parchment that have activation lines, so when folded into the shape of a bird, which is a lark, these notes will flutter to the one the message is intended for.
This little note has quite the personality, fluttering around, even playing dead as a way for Reave to open it up. I love that. When folded, the letters N-E-E can be seen on its belly, which is why Reave affectionately has called it knee. Shouts to the parchment lark shirt that I'm wearing right now that has 4 parchment larks, one with the little knee on it. This is from Feminine and Fabled. I absolutely love it. I was curious if all parchment larks have personalities like little knee, and here is what our signal Sarah said. Quote, "They do not to that degree. Knee is, in many ways, so very special." Oh, I miss Knee. Knee is more than 5 phases old. Its exact age, though, is unknown. It came to Reave during a storm, leaving it with a torn wing and a squished little nose from bumping up against the windowsill. I love the symbolism of the torn wing and how that connects to Hadion's moon plume. Reave has no idea who sent this parchment lark, and in fact, she thinks it flew, literally, into her life by mistake.
It's so cute how at first Reave would send Knee back out into the sky, wanting this very important message to get to whoever it's for. She's pretty worried about that. But Knee fought against Claude's currents and won, coming back. And Reave couldn't help but be impressed by that and is like, Okay, you can come and stay. Nicole, I have another crazy theory.
Oh my God.
I know, right? I don't know.
I love this.
Sarah says that Nee is very special in many ways. What if Nee is more sentient than other parchment larks because of how Kazari enchanted it? She started hearing Kalis' song, and going back to what I was saying there in the prologue, the ether power is so unknown, and I really do feel like there's a lot of limitless magic associated with that. So I'm just saying that Nee might have a little bit of Kalis magic within it, and that's why it has such a personality.
Well, especially because if she started learning Kalis's words 25 phases ago, Reave fell 23 phases ago, and this came into her life 5 phases ago, that means that Kazari would have had 20 phases to have mastered Kalis's language. So I think you're actually very right.
Fast forward to the last page of the book with one of the biggest twists of the story. We find out exactly who sent Nee and that it was indeed supposed to go to Reave all along. Or rather, Elowen. Because it turns out that it was Kazari who wrote "I need you" on a parchment lark and sent it to her mother 5 phases ago. However, her mother Elowen has been long gone and believed dead for over 100 phases, and whose moon fell 23 phases ago, basically reawakening Elowen/Reave in a way we don't understand yet.
Okay, so here's my... I don't know if this is a crack theory. I think that this is just a theory. So this parchment lark was sent by Kazari when she was roughly 118 phases old. I wonder if Kazari was shocked when the parchment lark actually flew off somewhere. Like if you were sending a parchment lark to someone who is dead, it just doesn't leave. It just stays in the sender's hands. And maybe that's why Kazari has been running away so much, and specifically why she's left the shade. Because she's now trying to find out, where the fuck did Nee go?
Well, that would only be for the last 5 phases, but she has been doing this quite a bit longer.
True.
With hiding and stuff. So I do think that there is an element with trying to escape her father in the shade and all
Definitely.
of that. But I wonder if, especially over the last 23 phases, what if she is herself kind of feeling out where her mother might be?
Well, and that's one of the reasons she could have gone to Ma's retreat, is because she thought that maybe Elowen was there.
I think it goes back to her hearing Kalis and her having a very different connection to him and honestly all of the elements in a very different way that other people do.
Yeah.
And I don't know if like her running away and stuff like that, maybe she's not necessarily running towards something, but she is a little bit more running away, even if that is running away from her own chaos in her head too, where she's, you know how sometimes it's like, man, if I just lived here, my whole life would be a lot better.
Yeah.
Or like easy and whatnot. And it's like, no, life still comes with package, right? I wonder if it's a little bit like that, where it's like just trying to escape her own head also really
I could
too.
totally see that. Well, especially because she hears wailing. Now, we don't know if that's only from Kalis. We know Kalis is a big cause of it. But I wonder if she also hears all of the elemental songs. So all 5.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And so I think you're right on the money. Like, she's trying to escape that chaos. Yes.
So we know that it is Kazari who has sent this parchment lark, because when Reave eventually writes "No, you don't" in response to the "I need you," sending Nee back to whoever the parchment lark originally came from, Nee finds itself back to Kazari, who will be imprisoned by her bastard uncle, aka the Scavenger King, who just so happens to be the one who tortured Reave for a long time and had her caged up with Fallon.
That is one of those moments reading where I had an out of body experience. Like, that was like sit up in bed. Like, I remember slapping the sheet next to me, and Brett was like, "What?
Your
What's
husband?"
happening?"
We readers do not know why Kazari felt inclined to send this parchment lark 5 phases ago, or specifically what prompted it, but it's us, so we'll have lots of fun speculating throughout the deep dive.
Well, and I love this line here where it says how Nee, quote, "came from somebody who was not okay, though they perhaps didn't know how to say it out loud." Like mother, like daughter is all I have to say right there.
I bet it's because things are intensifying with the Ether Stone.
Yes.
And Kazari sent it because she was scared and alone. And I know we'll get to this shortly, but we really do think that she believes that her mother is actually alive.
Yeah.
That is some of the information that she does not share with Kaan. And Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and I think that, like you're saying, like things are intensifying with the Ether Stone, and she knows her mother also had the Ether Stone.
Exactly.
So she's like, I need you. I need someone, like you're saying, to not feel so alone. Reave may not want to show this close affection to Essie, but she has little problem showing that care to Nee. I think it's because Nee feels safer. It's, first of all, an inanimate object, even though it quickly became something more and more affectionate to her. But it's so interesting that the almost motherly relationship that Reave has towards this parchment lark came from her literal daughter. Oh my God, it's so good.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Before we get into Kaan and Kazari's scene, thank you so much for supporting Fantasy Fangirls as we take a quick moment for our sponsors. POV change. It's time for Kaan's chapter, where we're back to the Hungry Hollow with him, because it turns out he does indeed have a real reason to be here. He's meeting up with his niece, Kazari, Princess of the Shade, daughter of Tyrok, Vegor, and Elwyn, but actually daughter of Kaan and Elwyn, but nobody, at least nobody anymore alive, not even Kaan, knows that yet. And like we were saying earlier, when he and Reave kept running into each other, Kaan thinks he's going mad because it is impossible that this female is his Elwyn. Elwyn's supposed to be dead! Even if her eyes, that scent, that voice, it all points to Elwyn. But here he is with his niece/daughter, Kazari, who we quickly learn has snuck away again from King Tyrok's watchful eye in the Shade. Cleverly, she smuggled herself out of the Shade's capital and flew all the way here to the capital of the Fade to meet her uncle. That's a far flight, everybody! And she managed to go unnoticed after her unveiling ceremony when the skies were crowded with dragons. First of all, seems notable that Kaan did not know about this unveiling ceremony previously, and he was clearly not invited. But yes, we learn that Kazari has given herself to the creators and taken an oath of chastity. And we also learn that she has a moon plume, but she took a charter dragon to stay incognito here in the Fade.
By the way, it stood out to us that Kazari's hair is white while Rave's is black. So we signaled Sarah to see if there was a particular reason for it. And Sarah said, quote, "White hair runs in the Navan family. Reave has dark hair, just like her pa."
So what Sarah did not say there is that Kazari has white hair like her grandmother. And we also know that it is the maternal bloodline too. So I wonder if there's a little extra something there with that.
I wonder if the original Guardian, the original Navan, had white hair, and white hair is like a signal that they're more apt to handle the Ether Stone. So, because we know that with Kazari, the Ether Stone's not weakening her like it did Reave, and definitely like it did her mom.
Not in the same way. It still is weakening her, but not in the absolutely going crazy where she's constantly screaming. At least we are not seeing that visibly right now. We do not know that for a fact, though.
Well, and she's only had it for 123 phases, but also Reave had it or Elwyn had it for much less time.
Yes.
So I don't know. From the moment Kazari was born, she has worn the Ether Stone. Remember, because Elwyn died the day that she was born, and the Ether Stone has to be connected to someone from the Navan bloodline in order to feed off them to keep Kalis trapped in the stone. And she has been able to hear the creators since the day she was born. We will learn later in Elwyn's POV, to hear the creators that young is odd, unheard of.
Well, just young in general. Like, for instance, Elwyn, she wasn't hearing them when she was 9 phases old. And it's kind of like the 18 phases is, I'll call it the barrier for, like, after you turn 18, it's like, sorry, then you're not hearing them.
Yes, exactly.
But when Elwyn put the diadem on, she stopped hearing the creators. Whereas for her daughter, on the day she was born, she was hearing the creators even when she had the diadem on. So there is a huge difference right there that shows how different Kazari is.
Yes. Kazari's nursemaid, tired of the screaming, placed an iron necklace around the babe to drown out the creator's songs. And when she was just shy of 18, she took the iron off.
I love that it was because she felt like she was missing something. It's like Kalis has been trying to talk to her, trying to get to her, and she just felt something within her gut that something was missing. So she took the iron off so that she could hear the songs again.
Well, and I wonder if it's also, that's how close she is connected to the creators. Like, she literally felt like something was missing because she is that closely connected to all 5 of them. We don't have confirmation she hears all of them, but I feel like she does. I have an idea that she does.
I'm under the impression that everybody who hears the Ether Stone, that is the gift that the creators give them because they need that extra power to have that drained from them. So that is a familial line that is passed down that they can hear all of the creators.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I didn't get that, but I could absolutely see that. Immediately, all Kazari could hear the moment she took the iron off was wailing. She could feel Kaelus's sadness as it flowed through her. She notes that it felt like she was being ripped apart piece by piece. So she put the iron necklace back on for another 80 phases. So she didn't go insane. I don't blame her. When she finally took it off again, she actually listened to Kaelus and found that it wasn't screams and wails, but instead it was words he was saying. Remember, the closer you are to the creators, the louder you can hear them. So I wonder if that's just again, how close she is connected to him.
Not only that, but also again from the prologue where he would be saying it as loud as he possibly could. And yet nobody could hear him. It was again, he is the void. He is everything and nothing at all. Mm-hmm. He is everything and nothing at the same time. And it's she very uniquely is able to tap into that and hear something that technically does not exist.
Yes, exactly. She took the time to learn Kaelus's language and learned quite a lot by doing so. So much so that she wants to set him free. Why? Because she's fallen in love with them. Does this make anyone else nervous? It makes me extremely nervous because he might be all talk again just to be released from the Ether Stone. And she's going to end up heartbroken or worse, dead because of his lies.
How am I suddenly having to defend Kaelus so much in this episode?
I think Kaelus is sus, yo. I'm so nervous by him.
I don't think that he is fully manipulating her. I think that he is starved for attention and starved to be part of something. And here she is, the first person in 5 million phases to be oh, I can hear you. I'm not surprised if he loves her too. Now, whether that's a healthy kind of love, I do not believe that for 1 second, but I don't think that he is purposefully manipulating her. I think that he is just as vulnerable of an emotional state, if not way more so, and he's latching onto her.
Are you sure you don't want to make a bet? Because I think that this is going to be a running theme throughout this episode's these deep dives. I think we should make a bet.
Give me some time to work it all out.
Oh my God. Jesus.
I want to go back to that line that Kazari says, where she's learned too much by shaping his language in her mind. Again, it goes back to what ether represents, that in-between space. He is the one who is empty space, but he's also the originator of runes, too, which that was a totally different kind of language than what I think that she's hearing, absolutely, because runes are not a hearing language. I'm so fascinated by what has she learned from him, and again I think that goes right back to the moons and the moon's falling.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
It was one big kind of accident.
I think she did not mean for the moons to fall, but I think that she is learning things that Kaelus wants her to learn in order for him to get back to his brothers and sisters for trapping him in the diadem.
Okay, I am willing to make a bet with you.
Finally! God!
What do you mean finally? We are 2 hours into episode 1. Excuse me.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. All right. What's the bet, Lexi? What word trickery are you going to take me on?
That Kaelus is not purposefully making the moons fall. Because you seem to think that he is purposefully, previously, he's always purposefully wanted the moons to fall. I do not think that is specifically on purpose.
Okay. All right. I accept this.
Okay.
I accept your bet.
I know that there's going to be some weird in between, but
probably,
you know what?
There always is. We have to debate it or take it to the internet. Here is what we know about the creation of the Ether Stone from the prologue. Kaelus was trapped within this diadem embellished with strong runes. But the runes have to feed on someone in order to keep Kaelus trapped. A mighty Fae warrior was bestowed this gift, the original Navan line. I wonder if this guardian was extra super powerful and thus was able to stay more in his right state of mind. And that's kind of how Kazari feels, where it's not the same type of weakening like it was with Reave or with her mother.
I wonder that too, because there's definitely something different about Kazari. Thankfully, we have a prophecy about Raave's offspring shared later in this book, aka a prophecy about Kazari. I love how handy that is. It was foretold that the Fate Herder would bring Reave to their people, and that her offspring would, quote, tether the moons to the sky forever.
So here's where I'm saying Kalis, having been to blame, quote unquote, for the moons falling 5 million phases ago, he was pissed for not feeling heard. He is now wanting to be heard again. So he's wanting to make the moons start falling. The tether the moons to the sky is the story of how Kazari frees herself from the Ether Stone.
Okay, and that does make a lot of sense.
That does make a lot of sense. Thank you very much.
I still think that Kalis is misunderstood and Kazari is...
I think that we're going to feel sympathy for him. I don't think he's going to be a big bad where it's just he's a bad guy and that's it. Sarah is not that type of writer. So I am wholly in the camp that there is more to Kalis. He is definitely a misunderstood, major air quotes, villain.
I think that he did not initially have malicious intent.
There is some major wordplay in that. And I trust nothing. I think that someone's finally hearing him and he's thrilled about it. I think we can both agree on that. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So here's where I'm leaning. Kalis knows that Kazari is destined to stop this grand plan of the moons falling. And he decided that he would make it so that she was attached to him emotionally, thus making it way more difficult for this prophecy to be fulfilled working against Kalis. Basically, I'm not saying that Kalis is completely fuckboying Kazari, but I'm also not saying it, especially because of the third line in this book is literally, quote, Kalis's baritone song was so full of substance and yet lacked it entirely. That is the poetic, beautiful lineage of fuckboy. It's like, oh, this substance, but it lacks any meaning. And the line in the prologue that Kalis just wants to be a part of something, anything. So I take that as he is desperate to remain part of this god group. And then they locked him into the stone. He's pissed about it. And now he wants to get the gods back for doing this to him. I think that he is playing Kazari so that she makes it so that she does not fulfill the Fate Herder's prophecy of making the moon stop falling, keeping the moons in the sky.
Okay, so let's flip this then. What if Raave's offspring stopping the moons falls because of her falling in love with Kalis? So, first of all, Kalis, please don't let me down here. I'm fighting so hard in your corner. I think by her loving him, he is now part of something, and therefore the moons might stop falling. It goes back to, I think that it was a consequence of his power and he didn't know what to do about it. And so somehow, some way, Kazari, with this love conquers all after all, right? But
does love with the god who's trapped in a diadem conquer all?
Not necessarily, but I think that the story that everybody's gotten is Kalis equals bad, he has malicious intent, and the other gods had their reasons. That is also way too straightforward, so therefore I think that it's actually something different.
Way too straightforward? I just figured this out. I've read this book 7 fucking times. Are you kidding me? I love this poetic brilliance on a reread or literary irony because Kaan has no idea he is talking to his literal daughter in this scene. We did get confirmation from Sarah that he does not know Kazari is his daughter. He believes that she is Tyrok and Elowen's daughter, which gold star again for Kaan for taking his ex-lover who ripped his heart to shreds and his evil brother's supposed daughter under his wing, treating her like one of his own. Gold star for you, Kaan.
I know, right? And so real quickly, Elowen and Kaan, they had a baby. They were in love. And then Kaan's father found out about it. Why are you laughing at me?
When a man loves a woman. The birds and the bees.
We'll talk more about this later on. But Kaan and Elowen were obviously in love. They ended up making a baby. And then Kaan's father knew that she was pregnant and was like, you're not going with Kaan because he only has 2 beats. You're going with my other son who has 3 beats, who's going to be the king of the shade, who you need to marry. So you need to marry him really fast. Then go pretend like you're making a baby with him. And then everybody else thinks that that baby is the brothers, not Kaan's. And even Kaan believes that because Eloise gave him a whole I don't really want to be with you kind of note. And so he was heartbroken that she pretty much broke up with him and she had to go and be with his brother. She didn't want to be with his brother, though. He knew that.
Like, this is so Shakespearean. It is so tragic. And oh my God. But like lines here in this scene, like, quote, if you were my daughter or you're my niece, the last thing I want to talk about is your chastity. Like, they're so rich on a reread. This does make me wonder, though, next book, how is Kaan gonna take learning that Kazari is his daughter? Because I do not think that Vea, who does know at the end of this book, will keep that information from him. Like, she will tell him, given how close they are, as soon as possible.
I agree. And I think that Kaan, in all of his gold star glory, will probably have it feel like a puzzle piece finally fitting in place. It's also going to make telling Reave that she has a daughter, which he's going to be trying to do for the whole second half of this book, but she might as well be plugging her ears going la 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 la. It's going to make telling her they together have a daughter, but she's kind of has to pretend to still be the evil Shade King's daughter. Okay. That's going to make this even more awkward than it already is.
Bet. I have a new bet.
Why are you trying to make so many bets on episode 1, Nicole?
It's fun. It's fine. Do you think that she is going to know Kaan is her father by the end of Ballad?
Yes.
Okay, I also think that. So no bet then. Okay, the last thing I want to highlight from this. Well,
real quickly, I just want to say I think that Kaan is going to enter his dad era, and I'm so excited because the only thing sexier than a well-groomed beard and Kaan in general is Kaan as a father.
Oh my God.
Tell me you have kids without telling me you have kids, right?
Meanwhile, I'm like, how do you handle Rhaegon? Like, what's your relationship with your dragon, your pet? So the last thing I want to highlight on this scene is how Kazari knows some shit. We've alluded to this earlier, but let's get right into it. In this scene, Kaan senses that his niece, quote unquote, is holding back information. This is after she admits that she, in Kaan's words, has fallen in love with a fucking stone when he presses her on about what she knows. And then she runs out of the room. Kazari, what do you know about Kalis? Do you think that this is how she suspects her mother is alive?
Yes!
Especially because what happens right before? Kaan reminds her that it's her family line, blessed with the power to contain Kalis for a reason. Yes! It is not an accident that she literally goes silent right after her family line is brought up.
And that's why she's reached out to her mother 5 phases ago, because it was like, what if? Yes, this is what I think. Hard pivot to a sad scene incoming as Reave wakes up to Neve fluttering around frantically trying to get her out of her room. Reave hears a thump in their apartment, but it's no intruder like she initially thinks. It's far worse. Reave finds Essie rolled up on the couch with the metallic smell of blood in the air. When Reave untangles her from the blankets, her worst fears are confirmed. Essie has been stabbed in the abdomen, and it is too late to save her. Essie could have gone to a flesh thread, which is a healer, but she didn't want Reave to worry about what would have happened to her if she never came back. Like, again, I think about Essie's own past and how her parents never returned, and she's always wondered, right? And she didn't want to be like that for Reave. Essie did travel to the Undercity to get the last ingredient she needed for the cap that would help protect Reave. The one thing on her list that Reave did not get because Tarek's blood smudged the parchment and she could not read it. But while Essie was in the Undercity, she was targeted by Rex Zaros because of her relationship with Reave. Like we said earlier, Levy was worried about Reave. Reave outed herself as an Elding Blade. Levy then gave her parchment that turned out to have a tracking rune on it. And now Rek kills her loved one to lure the assassin out of her residential hiding place to exact revenge. Rek even used a blade engraved with the word Undercity and his initials. The message is clear. He knows where Reave lives and took out Essie as an invitation to come find him. As the asswipe will say, it's nothing personal, Reave.
Listen, this is horrible what Rek does to Essie. And I have to admit, this is really cool magic because on the blade, the blood of Essie congeals, making the message Undercity RZ.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Which I have to ask.
That's really cool.
Right? Isn't it so cool?
I hate saying that.
I know.
Really cool.
We know Rek can communicate with Ignos, but this is definitely a runey thing. So did he purchase this blade with the rune in it where he was able to like etch it with a message, or did he do it himself and he's also a Rooney? I don't think so. I think it's the first one.
Once again, Rek has been hired by the Crown to stop the rebellion and to stop the Ath from draining the kingdom of its new conscripts. Specifically, he's trying to catch a rebel with close ties to the Eldeen. Rek assumed the Ath from the Hungry Hollow would be able to help him out with this, and he's still holding out hope that Reave can rat out the kind of person he's actually looking for, like her boss, Sareem.
As Essie is dying, she asks for Reave to tell her something that will make her feel warm. And without a moment's hesitation, Reave answers with, I love you. A truth that Reave has always known, and yet it has never felt safe to tell her because with it tucked away, hidden in that icy lake of Raves, she could keep that truth away from the world where it would be Essie's downfall. The horrific part of it is that this is yet another instance of Reave loving someone and it proving her the people I love die belief true yet again, which will ingrain it and make it really hard for her to open up to Kaan later on this book. And with this omission in Essie's final moments, it will haunt Reave. Yes, for the reasons I said above, but also because of the guilt that Reave didn't say it sooner. This dichotomy is so Reave. She is full of emotions and love and care. She is empath so hard, and yet she shoves it all down behind an icy lake.
In her consuming grief, Reave makes a decision to send Ni back to its sender after more than 5 phases with the reply, no, you don't. Ni's message says, I need you. And even though Reave has never believed the note is actually for her, she's come to cherish Ni. Ni needs her, and she's become like a pet owner or even a motherly figure to little Ni. But look what Essie relying on Reave did to her in the end. Essie trusted Reave to keep her safe, showed how much she loved her, and tried to tell Reave that she was Essie's only family. Essie needed Reave, and now Essie's dead because of Reave. Rave's message back saying, no, you don't, is her way of putting her emotional walls back up. Telling herself and whoever this person is out in the world for Ni that no one should need her. They're better off without Reave.
I do want to commend Reave for how she uses fire because Essie doesn't want to be buried in the snow. She doesn't want to be cold. She hates the cold. She wants to be warm in death. And Reave, who blames herself now for Essie's death with the Rexaros call, she doesn't want to fail her friend again. And Reave, whose number 1 or maybe number 2 fear is fire, I guess it fluctuates depending on how recently someone she loved died, is she overcomes that fear for the loss of her friend and she lights the entire apartment on fire. I do wonder how that went in the neighborhood, but I think we've got much bigger problems on our minds right now.
Essie's death catapults the whole story, but the dominoes began falling with the Tarek mission. It was his blood that splattered on the parchment, so Reave didn't know what to pick up, leading to Essie going to get the ingredient herself in the Undercity. It was running into Levy because of the mission that Reave unknowingly accepted a tracking rune. Essie was an anchor in Rave's life. Reave might have struggled to admit it, but they were each other's family, and there was a comfort to their routine. She may not be free, but she had a home and a loved one. And now that is shattered again, leaving Reave completely lost and her world turned upside down. She doesn't have a home anymore. She doesn't have a loved one. She has nothing anymore.
Yeah. And I got to admit, for an author to do this right off the bat at the top of the book, like kill someone who is a pivotal person in a character's life, it's brave. And I've really only read a few books with this style of storytelling, and they're some of my favorites because it is just the most unexpected. It catapults the story forward because it is just the most unexpected thing that happens at the beginning of the book.
Yes. Yeah.
And speaking of catapulting, we get catapulted into a chapter with a new POV, a mysterious POV. Welcome to The Other. Before we get into what The Other does with Rek, his men, and all of the chaos it causes, let's get a quick TLDR on The Other. While we are clearly Reave physically, we are most definitely not Reave mentally as this other takes over. Sarah confirmed to us in our interview that the other has been with Reave since she came into this life, aka when she woke up as Reave with no memory of Elwyn. Also, a good note from our content researcher, Sarah A. Parker referred to the other in our interview with her as she multiple times rather than it. It is also referred to as she, like she stalks through, but it is also like, again, that Reave physically. But I love that she's referring to the other as she in that interview. There's also a really animalistic nature to the other. She cares for Reave and respects her choices, even if she thinks they're kind of odd. For example, Reave hides the blood of her kills where the other believes blood should be worn with honor as a boast of the fresh meat and full bellies. The other also is extremely protective of those that she loves and the one that she nests within, aka Reave.
Watching the soldiers waiting for Reave to arrive and seek her revenge, the other decides it is time to make her move. She draws in a deep breath, and when she doesn't catch Rex's scent, she decides she'll draw him out with blood. As the other leaps off the bridge and down to the soldiers, she immediately starts singing Claude's song, shredding their lungs and reveling in their agony. Wahaha! Not only this, but she sings the air into nothingness, removing the oxygen, nullifying the soldiers' ability to sing the elements themselves, because they all certainly have elemental magic. When the other finally draws her daggers and throws them, she hits her targets with lethal accuracy. She takes out soldier after soldier after soldier, slicing even the reinforcements. When they try to trap her in the tunnel, she changes tactics and attacks with Boulder's song, shifting tactics to rip the ground apart. Confirmation that she knows more than one creator's song. I mean, it's strongly implied, like we've been saying, that she can hear multiple creators beforehand. But this on the page is when it's undeniable that she is at least a dual bead. Her earthbending leaves some of the soldiers falling into the abyss. Oh no! And some getting crushed by the shifting stones. She manipulates the ground in a way that is opening and closing like a jaw, just crunching on these soldiers till their blood and blade matter splooge out. A whole different meaning to our num 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 num. The other / Rave's final body count here will be 25, as this is her taking out an entire unit in the Undercity. So she collapses the lungs of 7 soldiers, then slaughters 12 more, and the cleft in the ground took out another 6. Dang, girl, that's impressive. But suddenly the songs of the creators are gone, silent, and the other finds that she has been shot with iron. Ah, yes, because iron nullifies the creators' voices and prevents one from being able to wield their magic. The culprit of getting shot with iron? Fucking Zaros. With the other trapped, Rex securely binds her using his Ignos fire magic, so she has no chance of escape. Rex uses this as an opportunity to get close and taunt how unexpectedly pretty and powerful she is. But you can't underestimate the other, and she snaps his finger, biting the tip off. Don't let Rex's laughter at this fool us. He punches the other in the face and knocks her unconscious.
Okay, I believe we're both on the same page that we think that the other is 100% Slatra, yes?
Yes.
Okay, but then it does open up. Is this a Dragamorc bond, or is this something bigger?
Okay, so let's back up, because there is a strong argument that the other is the spirit of Elwyn's Moonplume dragon, Slatra. From this chapter alone, I absolutely think that, and support for this theory includes Rave's eyes turned black, described as inky and glitter kissed, which is how dragon eyes are multiple times described in this book. The other has this beastly quality with heightened scent and calls Reave a host with small hands, tiny teeth, and vulnerable skin. That sounds like she's comparing it to a dragon. I'll take it as confirmation that she is female, since Sarah Parker calls the other a her, and the audiobook narration when directly in the other's stream of consciousness is female. Slatra was a female Moonplume dragon. The other says she was born in the darkness and loves to reference the sunless sky, which we know Moonplumes love the dark and cold of the shade. The other makes little comments about skyborn blows and falling, just little hints that feel very dragon-like. The other clearly feels a fierce protection and attachment and love for Reave, like Slatra felt for Elwyn, her bonded.
Well, and I'll throw out that as Reave is transitioning into the other, she notices like, oh no, it's happening. Her body temperature plummets. Given how the shade is always cold and the moon plumes breathe icy fire, this is way too on the nose to not be Slatra.
I know, right? So going back to your question about whether they were Dagamorc, I think yes. Which, real quickly, Dagamorc is someone so deeply bonded with their dragon that they can harness their strength and fire. I mean, in some ways, this is Reave wielding dragon-like strength. I think to the Ballad of the Fallen Moon and how the moon plume's light seeped into the saber scythe. What if Rave's moon plume did something like that with Reave when they were calcified as moons? And a piece of Slatra is within Eowyn/Reave because they were calcified as Dagamort for an eon.
I think you're right on the money. No matter what, we know from Sarah A. Parker that we will be learning more about the other in Ballad. I wonder if that's going to be from a mind weft who she goes to and she finally sees and like it gets it out of her brain. I don't think so because Reave is very scared of that stuff, but she's growing. Or if she'll tell Kaan about it and he'll recognize Slatra. Or, if she goes to the Slatra shrine and she has some kind of like flashback or memory or something that like feels that kinship where the other is connected to that body.
What if she is in the other's form and it takes her to Slatra, where I'll call it the shrine is?
Yeah. Oh, I like that. Oh, I like that a lot.
I do think that she will find this out for herself because there are so many other things that she kind of needs to be told by other people. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like this, because it's so within her, I think that this will be some information that she does figure out for herself there.
Now, do you think by the end of this trilogy, Reave will be able to shift back and forth to the other form willingly?
No, I think of it, I never thought about that. I think of it more like as Slatra will be released, maybe. There's so much to their backstory with the moon falling and Reave being alive that just doesn't add up yet on purpose.
Yeah.
And I think Kalis will play a pretty big role in all of that. I don't know how, but I think about Reave, like what if she was to don the Etherstone and because she has the other within her, there's a different kind of reaction than previously.
Maybe. I could totally see that. Now, she would not be able to don the Etherstone unless Kazari dies, because the only way to get rid of the stone is, I mean, that's what history told us. Technically, we don't
have
know.
to be her daughter giving it back to her because she's now alive.
Guess you're right. Yeah, I don't know. Pivoting slightly, I do want to take a quick moment to highlight the audiobook Other Chapters, because unlike the rest of the book, which is in a dual POV where the chapters are split between Reave chapters are in the female narration and the Kaan chapters are in the male narration, this chapter is interwoven. So we signaled to Sarah asking how it was decided which narrator narrated the different parts of the other chapters. And here is what she said, quote, "I've seen some theories about this, but it's not what some think. This chapter is almost omniscient in the way that it's written, something I did purposefully because I didn't want to do first person from the other's perspective and possibly give too much away too soon. Ah, you sneaky Sarah. Because of this, it felt natural to have the same narrator who narrated the prologue also do certain more narrative parts of the chapter, and for the other narrator to do the other's direct thoughts and language."
So as we all know, When the Moon Hatched has multiple diary entry chapters throughout the book, where we are introduced to the girl who journals, Eowyn Reave Navan. Yep, this is Reave in her past life, in case we have not mentioned that so far this episode. I love how this is woven into the story, and all the little hints we get from the diary entries that connect us to Reave from the very beginning. Like Eowyn saying, "That's a plop of spangle poop," much like Reave likes to say, "That's a load of spangle shit." You know, the adult version of that. Anyway, who is Eowyn as we're introduced to her in this first stretch of chapters, besides our main character in a previous life? Eowyn Navan is 9 phases old and the daughter of Audric and Adora Navan. Her parents are the rulers of the Shade. So Eowyn is the princess of the Shade. Remember, the Shade is the furthest south territory. She is also a descendant of the familial line entrusted with the Ether Stone. Her mother wears the Ether Stone right now in her present timeline, and once when her mother dies, this responsibility with bearing the Ether Stone will pass to Eowyn. In the first diary entry, Eowyn details the pain that her mother is in wearing the Ether Stone and how much she really doesn't want to be the next one to wear it. She's watched her mother cry and try to pull the stone off of her head. I would be terrified of this being my future as well.
Well, and this is the chapter right before we meet Kazari for the first time. So we literally hear about this Ether Stone and how horrid it is. And then Kazari comes in and she's not the way that Eowyn's mother is. And it's like, what?
But her mother also had her lucid moments too. I don't want to take everything with Kazari in that one scene too literally where she might not be.
No.
Yeah. But again, like, who knows? Or like if she would be screaming, and then that would be like her starting to listen, and it's no longer just wailing and feeling like it's tormenting her, but it's actually giving to her instead. But more importantly for Elowen right now, as a 9-phase-old, she's annoyed at her parents for not allowing her to get her own dragon. They want her to wait until she can hear the songs of the creators before attempting to steal an egg. The daughter needs a little bit of power within herself first, which I think is completely understandable considering during these first few diary entries, Elowen is 9 phases old. I would also be hesitant to let my 9-year-old steal an egg from the most difficult to calm or tame dragon breed. Oh my god, I'm saying this, and I realize how much my own daughter would absolutely want to do this, as she always likes to pretend she has a black dragon.
Yes! Oh my god, that's so true.
She literally has an imaginary dragon,
That's
everybody.
so
It's
cute.
black. It's
God,
amazing.
I love her.
I have a purple dragon, according to her, because obviously.
Oh my gosh. While Elowen is close to her parents, she is closest to Haedion, her older brother, although we don't know how many phases older he is.
Since I think people can try to get a dragon when they're 18, unless they are particularly powerful elementals, I've just always assumed that he's 18 phases.
Oh, that would make sense.
So it'd be something like 11 phases older than her. Like, in that ballpark. That sounds about right.
Look at you with the face math this episode. I love it. Haedion does not hear any of the songs, which I wonder, is that why he's so determined to go and get himself a moonplume egg when he's, quite frankly, a little unprepared?
That's exactly what I think. He wants to prove himself by doing this the right way, too. Even though their parents beg him not to go, they're worried about him.
Yeah. The night before he leaves, he and Elowen hang out as he packs, and he lets her have not 1, but 3 butterberry chews. I love this show don't tell of how he's nervous that he lets his sister have extra candy. Like, oh my God. Also, quick note, Rave's favorite food is butterman loaf, and Elowen loves butterberry chews. Just that little butter connection. I love it.
Yes, and when Reave gets a whiff of Kaan, she thinks how his smell has notes of something buttery.
Oh my God.
And he has one of the best scents she's ever smelled. Our girl loves her butter.
So relatable. Oh, yes. But back to Haedion. He may not be ready to get his own egg. He's not stealthy. From what it sounds like, he is not trained in the art of stealth at all. So it is not surprising that Elowen says that she doesn't think her brother will come home.
But Haedion does not end up going alone because his little sister snuck into his sleigh.
Another thing your daughter would do.
Absolutely. And he begrudgingly lets her come with him since he's not going to just drop her off back at their home in the capital, but he's got to keep going to go get his moonplume egg, right?
Well, and Elowen hasn't known loss yet, but her unwillingness for Haedion to go on his own is her first taste of how much she is unwilling to experience this type of pain.
Little does he know that 9-phase-old Elowen plans to get her own moon plume as well. Yep, there are definitely those character traits we know so well in Reave. Stubborn, determined, independent. Of course, as a young girl, she is too impatient and takes matters into her own hands to get a moon plume dragon egg. Importantly, the addition of these diary entry dates help us understand how long ago this timeline is. In the present day with Rave's story, it is 5,165 phases after Stone. Elowen's first diary entry is 5,030 phases after Stone. So this is happening 135 phases before the present. And it makes Reave 144 phases old right now, though she's been calcified as part of a moon for most of that. So I'm not quite sure how that aging works. But anyway.
Some other rapid fire takeaways from these diary entries are:
Elowen truly does have a connection with the dragons from the beginning, even when she's considered too young to have her own dragon. The moonplumes in the palace hut let her sleep with them. I wonder if it's because of her ancestral responsibility to eventually bear the Ether Stone, or even just her character, where Reave feels drawn to the dragons, later on in the present day. Albeit it has to be from a distance, given her low-key lifestyle.
Yeah. Oh, we also learn how one figures out if they can hear the elemental songs. Elowen mentions how every cycle she will sing to the snow, the air, the ground, the flames. And if someone sings back, boom, you can hear the songs. I love this. Can you imagine outside, just waiting? At this time in Elowen's life, again, 9 phases, she cannot hear any of the songs. And she's thrilled about it, because if she doesn't hear any of the creator songs, she will not have to wear the ether stone. And given the fact that her mother is seen, trying to pull off this thing extremely hard and screaming and crying while doing so, this shit is horrifying. Of course she doesn't want the ether stone. When Elowyn approaches her ma, Adora, she tells Elowyn that, quote, she lost something important. I'm assuming she's referring to her mind or her sanity or her inner peace, but I don't know. I flagged that, and I'm watching you, Adora, even though you are very, very, very dead.
It's so chilling that Elowyn's pa is like, you'll understand when you're older. And she's like, I don't want to understand. I also think that the creators are purposefully only gifting the maternal bloodline with all of their elemental songs, so the female will be the powerful enough one to withstand the ether stone. It's like Elowyn has her purpose in life already, and now Hedion is searching for his own because he doesn't have that anything close to the same purpose. As horrifying as it is still a sense of purpose that Elowyn specifically has that she alone can carry in this whole world. That's a lot of responsibility.
Okay, so I want to talk about this for a second, because the original guardian who got the ether stone from the gods was a male. However, we have now seen 3 females have the ether stone. And I wonder if, because this is a very patriarchal society, I wonder if they started giving it to the females because they saw how it drained them and made them crazy. And they're like, well, you're disposable, or you're not as powerful as us, so you can be the ones who are internally losing your minds, and we'll be fine. Because I could see the men.
It's interesting because I actually thought of it as the opposite. That
I hope it's the opposite.
Thought that the women were the ones who were more powerful, who would be able to, I'll say, withstand it better and withstand the responsibility better and not become corrupt because of it. Because again, the ether stone, it drains the life from you, but you don't necessarily have like that much power. But again, I feel like it could be like a precautionary thing. And as a result, one of these females has now fallen in love with Kalis, because I bet this was not on any of the creators' bingo cards.
No, I don't know. Maybe that's a signal Sarah will have in the future, because I'm curious as to why it's always, at least in recent years, been the female of the line.
Yeah. But what if they only had a male son, for instance?
I get ready for the claw diet, my guy. So that's another thing she has mentioned, is as part of the runes on it, it's almost like a claw that like a crab that attaches itself to your forehead, and it's like, oh my god. Yeah.
Well, but again, like for instance, Hedion is at least 10 years older than his sister. He doesn't hear any of the elemental songs. And so it's like the creators knew they were saving it for the younger daughter versus the oldest. Dude, there's got to be some kind of thing in the air. Like there's got to be some kind of cosmic thing. I'm so sorry, my vocabulary is not better to describe that, with making sure the most powerful person is bestowed upon it. And I think it goes all back to fate and destiny and all of that kind of stuff. We know from the present day with Reave that tragedy will eventually befall Elowyn's brother and the moon plume that he will get. Rave's favorite moon in the present day is called Hayes Perch. It's a small silver moon of an adolescent moon plume, and while it's not the largest or the brightest, from the calcified dragon as a moon, we can tell it has a wonky wing. Reave doesn't want to hear its sad story. She wants to look at her favorite moon that she loves so much for reasons that she does not understand, and to think that it had a beautiful life full of happy things that make your heart heavy with love. She is drawn to her brother's moon, loving it more than anything and wanting the best for it when it was in life. This moon never fails to give Reave a smile, just like Elowyn will try to make her brother Hedion smile after they return from getting their moon plumes. All of these are little details that will add up soon enough as we learn what happens next from Elowyn's diary entries. And I just love how it feels like puzzle pieces to the larger story. Let's tap into our dragon sight and turn our full attention to important foreshadowing moments for the rest of this book and speculations for Book 2, Ballad of Falling Dragons.
There's a line in the prologue of When the Moon Hatched that we have to talk about. Kalis wrote a silver book that some say he wrote in his desperation to be heard. These people, quote, found a different form of power in those runes nobody could read or pronounce, discovering that the strange markings could be wielded. This book is important. We can guess that this is the Book of Void that we will later see or hear about in one of Vea's chapters, where she describes a, quote, a deeply troubled mind weft who claimed she knew how to speak the language of ether, that she studied the Book of Void in length and knew the secret of our insignificant existence. This is the mind weft where Vea got the bangle from. Assuming those are the same book, which I would strongly assume they are. Alarm, 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 alarm. I wonder if they're going to go to this mind weft next book so they can have the mind weft help Kazari. And also, we do know from an interview that Sarah did with Between Pages and Friends that there is only one person at the end of this book, one person who is alive that can read the book that Kalis has written, the Silver Book. And I guarantee you that's the Mind Weft.
I agree.
Oh my God.
We learn a little bit about the role of veils in this world, with Reave pretending to be someone who only covers the bottom half of her face at this establishment that has a no veil rule. I'm assuming that's why she's only covering half of her face instead of her entire face. It's my understanding that females typically hide their faces with veils in this world, and they are unveiled to the public for the first time during the binding ceremony when they get married. Or there is an unveiling ceremony, which is when a princess gives herself to the creators rather than binding to a partner and is unveiled to the public for the first time. This is specified as a princess in the glossary, so I'm going to assume that the unveiling ceremony is strictly only for those royals, if that's what they choose.
And two princesses that we know have been through an unveiling ceremony where they gave themselves to the creators are Kazari and Vea. So both of them have done that process. Okay, we meet a waif, a type of creature that nibbles on live souls in exchange for messages from the dead. I'm sorry, what? This is so fucking cool. We have to see this again.
Yes, and I wonder if Reave or Kaan or someone will receive a message from a dead person, and it'll be useful information. And the way that the waif says, quote, there are screaming spirits desperate to speak with you.
I wonder if they're Hadion or her family, or honestly, even, like, would Elwyn even be possible?
I don't know if that'd be possible. I just assumed that it was creators trying to get her to hear them.
Oh,
or it could even be something related to Kalis, since she used to wear the Ether Stone.
See, I think it's her family, because if these are dead spirits, a dead person, and it's so funny because Reave is like, I don't think anyone would have very nice things to say to me because she's an assassin.
Yeah, because she thinks it's all the people that she's killed.
Yes, but I think it's her family who's screaming at her, being like, you know who you are.
Simba! Okay, I like that idea because I've just been locked in on it being the creators, but I love that.
I think it's her family. Okay, so Rave's favorite song is the Ballad of the Fallen Moon, as we see in The Hungry Hollow and throughout this book. The next book is called Ballad of Falling Dragons. What are your thoughts on the correlation here? Because I wonder if it's because her song and she feels most connected to Elwyn when she's hearing it, or if it's a song it's not about her and Sláinte falling from the sky, because it's about, well, is it?
Okay, so let's go through what the song is about. It's about an inky saber scythe flying into the black sky and dying in the darkness where she'll never be seen again. Then a luminous moon plume tucks beside the dark beast, illuminating her shape and giving the saber scythe moonlight. Ballad of the Fallen Moon goes on with the moon plume's light gradually dimming and the saber scythe's scales turn white because of the moon plume's light that's giving. Eventually, the moon plume slips its grip on the sky and falls. The saber scythe, now gifted with light and life, comes down from the sky to search for her friend in this world. I know, right? I'm freaking out here too. And how the saber scythe tries to piece the fallen moon plume back together, but fails to do so. The irony that Kaan, who is from the burn, who has a saber scythe, is watching Reave, who had a moon plume and fell. As she's singing this, he's watching her as she's singing this.
There's more to this because there's a white saber scythe in the burn, where he got his own dragon egg from that dragon. So that's where what's his butt is going right now. We'll get into that later.
His friend with the legendary white. Okay, so I've been thinking how this might not literally mean Raave's moon plume that falls.
No,
but
I don't think
so. The symbolism is all there.
Well, what if there's something else with the saber scythe that is white in the burn? It's the only silver saber scythe in Gondra. And so I wonder if there was some kind of story with that one and a moon plume from long ago. Because it's obviously not Slatra.
Well, so I've actually been wondering what if it is. Because once in the moon plume falls, the saber scythe tries to piece her together again. That's literally what Kaan is doing.
And I love that you're like, Kaan is literally just watching this being like,
So I cut another crack theory here. What if Kaan created this song and it somehow traveled to the shade? It's been 100 phases or so, where Reave heard it and immediately fell in love with it because it is literally their song, their connection. It could even be like an older ballad where it's more of a prophecy coming true.
Wow. Okay. Pivoting because my mind is so blown. All of the foreshadowing of Reave being able to hear the other elemental songs. We've beaten this horse. It's dead. But here's a few more. When she eases off the iron ring and exposes herself to the riot of songs, she tunes her mind to the highest frequency Claude. I love that. Tuning your mind like a tuning fork. It's so good. She also mentions how the louder one hears the songs, the greater connection one has to the elemental. I know Boulder is quieter simply because she drowns out his stability. He's too stable. And then she refuses to hear Ignos because of obvious reasons with her and fire. But when she hears Rain in the burn, Rain is screaming at her. And this is so good because that is just beautiful. Like, Reave is so fucking powerful. Also have to say again, Kazari mentioning how Kalis was wailing at her. And she hears him very loudly because of her connection to ether magic.
Also, all the foreshadowing about if Reave was a moon that fell. She was literally part of a moon that fell. She wonders if a moon is ever tempted to fall or if, quote, something else rips them from the sky.
Oh my God.
And then she really loves the idea of falling from the sky and squashing someone if they piss her off. Such a Reave thing to say. And then, quote, if I could ball myself up like a moon plume and nestle amongst the stars when I know my time has come, I would. Not that I think many would seek me out. Kaan has. And she literally did this. Or her moon plume did when she died. Oh, and how about the Tri-Council wouldn't let the Queen of the Fade rule because she's not powerful enough, even though it's her ancestral land. Just like how the Tri-Council would not let Elwyn rule the Shade, even though she knew many more than just one element, and she had the Ether Stone, though. Boo on you, patriarchy! I bet we get to know the Queen of the Fade so much more in book 2, and I'm so excited.
Oh, I hope so. Next one. I love how Reave describes Kaan's shoulders feeling like a saber scythe. Just a little foreshadowing of his connection to his own saber scythe and how their dagam work, but also how his voice spills like rolling rocks and how he can communicate with Boulder. I love those descriptions. Rolling rocks? Are you kidding me, Sarah? This writing. Oh.
Reave is also reminded of the burn with Kaan, and she does not know that he is the king of the burn or even from the burn yet necessarily. He looks like he should be of the renowned warrior clans that took root amongst the Volcanic plains millions of phases ago, wielding an axe and a bloodlusting roar. Well, basically, yes, that is where
exactly
he comes
right.
from. Yes, exactly. Yes. And separate but related, there is foreshadowing that Reave is a mother herself. When Levy puts her hand on her pregnant belly, Reave admits to herself that the vision does something strange to her heart, makes it feel like it's about to burst, but not in a good way, like when she was pregnant herself and in her final days of weakness, sadness, and loneliness. She does not have those good associations, not because of the child necessarily, but of being very pregnant and alone.
We talked about how Kaan is going to react to learning that Kazari is his daughter. I am very, and we'll speculate this in a later episode, but I am very curious as to how Reave is going to react, because that's going to be some mixed emotions, I think.
Absolutely. That's an understatement.
All right, next one. We meet Uno at the Curly Quill, who is another Fure du Ath and dotes on the Curly Quill's owner, Ruse, like a mother. This little miskin later will be sent by Ruse to try and free Reave from Rexaros' clutches before Reave gets eaten by the Molten Maws.
Speaking of getting eaten by Molten Maws, I love the setup in the stretch of chapters for what's to come next episode with her own sentence. From how she knows people who stand up to the high-ranking elementals end up as Dragon Chow, and she hears the feeding bells, then the howls of the victims, and then they get flown to the nesting grounds where they'll be fed to the baby dragons as live prey. A truly terrible end, and will feel all too real to Reave very soon. These public feedings to the dragons are to remind the people of the Fade of the consequences for those who upset the crown. People like Reave. Sadly, not people who deserve it like Tarek, but people who are just trying to survive, or people protecting loved ones, or standing up for what is right.
Where the fuck is Prince Turun?
I was wondering this too. He's barely mentioned, where I honestly forgot about him for the fan guide, and now I'm like, damn it! I'm so sorry we did not include him in the fan guide. Later on in an Elowen diary, when she is taken against her will to the Fade, we learn that Elowen believes the young queen of the Fade regrets letting Burn King Ostrin's son Kadok, quote, slither into her sleep space, conceiving a youngling which forced them into a binding that tied the Burn and the Fade together. So my guess is, like Elowen with the Shade, there was a young queen of the Fade, and in his determination for his family to rule the Burn, the Fade, and the Shade, the Burn King's son Kadok wooed this queen, put a baby in her belly, and therefore she had to marry him, making him king of the Fade.
So Serene mentions to Reave that the Fade tri-beaded prince, which is a pretty powerful being, hasn't been seen for many phases. He's rumored to have gone mad and would be a public problem as a result. So therefore, the king would be all too happy to hide his son Turun away. This is not a throwaway line. So we decided to shoot our shot at the source and signal a Sarah. And here's what she said, quote, "My lips are sealed," and then the little zipper emoji. So what if he's with the Scavenger King?
Oh,
that's what I think.
That could be really cool.
And like Kadok is not willing to admit it because he doesn't know where his son is.
Maybe.
I think the Scavenger King has Turun. Poor Turun.
Oh wait, the Scavenger King, what if,
like, as fodder for the Vagors?
See, here I am back to the Elding.
Oh, if the Elding has him, or if the Elding is the
him.
Scavenger King?
No, or what if the Elding is the prince? Or what if the poor prince is being hidden away by his father? I don't think that's actually it, because it is assumed that is it in the story, and we know never to make any assumptions based off what it said early in the chapters.
He's a tri-bead, so he's very powerful. So I do feel like Kadok is so power hungry, he would find a way to wield a tri-beaded fae.
It's said that his son went mad, and I'm not going to bring the Aetherstone into that because that is something separate. But what if he did feel mad from all the tri-beads? Again, like, that's a lot of voices in your head there. And so the king just kind of put him away, and like, what if he is actually getting trained for something like that? Or maybe he did actually escape. He had to learn it himself. Or maybe he is just actually mad and is a total wild card.
Oh, I love a wild card. I'm not going to lie. I love the idea of him being the Elding. So I think I'm going to lean in that camp, because that just is fucking delicious. Oh my God.
I did not think that we would be so hung up on who the Elding is, because it was just so subplot B.
Oh, it's not even B. It's like F at best.
In the book, but like, now that we're doing the deep dive, it's like, oh my God.
I am hung up on this Elding. Oh my God. I don't know why I picture the Elding so old, though. That means Serene is fucking the prince. Ugh. I picture him young, even though he's not. He would be like 144.
Yeah.
But then that's also Kazari's age. But she's like, I don't know.
But she is an adult, yeah.
She is. I just think of her as like 18, and she's not. That's just what she is in my head. Oh God, it's Lorcan all over again. Come on, Nicole, we gotta finish the episode. I love the moment when Reave is looking up at the candy-colored sky of the Fade and she pictures herself as a dragon and, quote, an icy calm settles within me like a nesting beast. This is 1,000% the other. It's Latra. I am willing to die on the hill. Episode 1, I'm there.
I actually am right there with you. Really? And then also, yes! And then also how she wants to be untethered. That's both of them wanting to literally and figuratively fly free. So many mentions about how Reave likes the cold, and she's naturally drawn to the shade. Like her room has a view of the shade way off in the distance, even if it is one of Essie's contraptions. So I don't think this is actually her view, but it's what she wants it to be. And she loves moon plumes. So many nods to the moon plumes. And when she's like looking up at the sky, she always thinks of the moon plumes that are south. There are plenty of other moons in the sky with the other dragons, but she's always top of mind with the moon plumes and the shade.
Okay, so this last one is more of a question. Do we think that one reason Kadok is obsessed with buffing up his militia is because he's afraid, might not be the right word, but I'll use it for lack of a better one. Paranoid.
Yeah.
That Kaan will charge in against him?
Maybe.
Or maybe either brother, and he's just paranoid in general.
I feel like he and Tarak are working together.
Well, they're twins.
Twins, yeah.
So they're pretty.
They're both
toy.
considered very evil. They're
very
yeah.
evil.
I could also see it as Kadok's way of hoarding power, very much as a dictator, with the elementals, taking them young and morphing them into, as Reave puts it, brainless killing monsters. Yeah. He wants the people with power to be on his side. And so he has literally constructed the system to make that so.
I am so scared for when this war does finally break out, because I'm assuming it's going to be towards like the middle end of Ballad.
Yeah.
Or Kaan's fucked. Kaan's fucked.
I think he's going to have the people of the plains.
Hell yeah.
All of them with him. Yeah.
It is time to infiltrate the Tri-Council, where each episode, Lexi will guide us through a world-building topic to help us deepen our understanding of this world and its magic.
Specifically, this magic today. Yeah. Because today's infiltrating the Tri-Council topic is the creators and the magic in this world. First off, who are the creators? I know we've been talking about this, but this is so foundational in this world that we're just going to boop you one more time with it. The creators are the gods of this world. And long ago, they used their songs to create this world. First, there is Boulder, the god of ground. Then there is Rain, the goddess of water. Claude, the goddess of air. Ignos, the god of fire, and the fifth and final god is Kalis, the god of ether. So that's who the creators are, but how does their magic work in this world? What's unique about this world is how elemental magic is wielded through language and song. These are fae who can hear the creators' songs, which is the magic gifted to individuals from the creators themselves. But it's not just enough to be able to hear the songs in order to wield the creators' elemental magic. It's a whole other language that needs to be learned as well. The more fluent the wielder is at speaking and understanding their creator's songs, the more powerful their magic will be and the more effective they are at wielding it. Most people who hear the elemental songs can only hear one, maybe two of the creators if they are lucky, and in very rare cases they can hear three, like the Tri-Council members or the twin kings of the Fade and the Shade. But if someone can hear more than one of the creator's songs, that's more language that they have to learn, making it exponentially harder for that person to wield these songs at a proficient level. Take Reave, for example. She can hear way more than one of the creator's songs, but she only knows Claude's songs well, so she is only a masterful air wielder. Though she does know a few songs of Boulder, which makes her have limited, but still some skill in earthbending. It's said that the louder one hears the elemental songs, the greater connection to the creator, the more power one can wield from learning their language and speaking their words. But a creator like Claude is already very loud with their high-pitched squeals, so this is both a blessing and a curse. Each creator has an associated color with their elemental magic to indicate to others that they can hear whichever the elemental songs. These colors are worn in the form of a bead on a person. Red signifies the creator Ignos, which means they can wield the elemental magic of fire. Blue is for Rain and her element of water. Clear colored beads mean the person is an air wielder for the creator Claude. And brown is for Boulder, the elemental magic of the ground. Again, think earthbender there. Depending on the kingdom, the location location of this bead on one's person is different. In the burn and the shade, elemental beads are worn in their hair, beard, or on clothing, while in the fade, elemental beads are worn like earrings on their ears. So that's how elemental magic works in this world. One's ability depends on whether they can hear at least one creator, which indicates if they are gifted with an elemental power. And the proficiency depends on how well they know the creator's language and songs to be able to wield the magic stemmed from this creator. But that's not the only magic in this world. So while we're on the subject, let's keep diving in, because there are also runeys and those that can wield other forms of magic. Runeys are someone who learned how to wield the symbolic runic language, simply called runes. This written language was originally found in an ancient tomb that some believe Kalis, god of ether, wrote in his desperation to be heard. I repeat, it is believed that runes are an ancient magic language from Kalis. Runeys wear a white bead and/or white cloak with buttons down the front that are stamped with the different symbols that announce the rune's talents. For different skill levels, the buttons are made from different materials, wood being the elementary level, diamond being the most advanced. So I was really curious how runeys are trained in this world, specifically outside of the burn, where gnolls are invited to see if they have an affinity for runes, but that clearly is not the case in the fade. So we signal to Sarah with the question, in the fade, how does one become a runey if they do not hear the elemental songs? And Sarah said, quote, typically they are well-born, wealthy, with strong family ties to an elemental/numerous elementals. That's not to say that everyone with those connections who gain entry to such tutelage are very good at it. Also, since it's not easy to be accepted into the Citadel and get the opportunity to study to become a runey, some folk, like Essie, teach themselves or have less prestigious tutelage. Folks as such aren't looked down upon fondly by the Citadel/the Tri-Council members. So real quickly, I'll add to that. So we know that Sareem is also a runey. I kind of wonder if she had less prestigious tutelage as well, and I could see that even coming back later on in the books. A type of runey are flesh threads, who are the equivalent of healers, and they're trained in the art of using runes to mend flesh, muscles, and organs. Beyond people skilled with runes, other individuals can have unique abilities like truth tunes, people who can tell when another is lying. They are prized by the crown for their ability to tell if someone can hear the elemental songs or if they are a null. Mind wefts, which are people who can dig into others' minds, aka mind readers, and they are extremely rare. Bloodlace, which is someone who is gifted with the unique power over blood. They can source familial origin, use someone's blood to make them hurt or feel pleasure, etc. I bet you anything that we're going to come across a Bloodlace to talk about that familial origin stuff there. I bet you anything Reave will be like, no, I don't believe you. And Kaan will have to essentially do a maternity test for her.
Honey.
And then there is Dragon Sight, which is the ability to see the trace of old runes, something that can only otherwise be seen via the light of a dragon's flame. So for instance, somebody who has been healed a lot by a flesh thread, who has been healed with a lot of runes, that would be visible to someone with Dragon Sight or someone who is playing with Dragonfire, because with that you're able to see the old runes. Then we have non-magical people called gnolls, and gnoll is someone who does not hear any of the elemental songs. In the burn, gnolls are given the option to discover if they have an affinity for runes. If they don't, they have the option to study something or take an apprenticeship. So yes, gnolls can wield runic magic, but not any of the elements. In the Fade, gnolls are viewed as lesser than those who can hear the creator's songs. Younglings confirmed as a gnoll are held down and clipped forcefully. A clip is a small circular notch cut into the peak of a Fae's ear, and the clip becomes a marker for those who want to take advantage of them, and they'll most likely be forced into the Undercity, because that's the only way that they can really survive. There are few options for a gnoll to make a living in Gore, the capital of the Fade, besides risking it in the mines. They do what they can to get by, even if it means walking a fine line between safety and death. Like the gnolls in the Fade, gnolls in the Shade are clipped, but it's not clear if this is more of a recent change to their treatment or not. We don't get any other information about how gnolls are treated in the Shade, but given the clips, I do think that it's safe to assume that it's more similar to their treatment in the Fade than in the Burn. My guess is that this lower class treatment began when the twin brothers started ruling the Fade and the Shade. They hold power in such high priority that really gnolls are not worthwhile to them. They toss them aside. I also personally cannot see Elowyn's parents doing something negative with the Knolls, given how open they were to Elwyn not following many of the traditions expected by the Tri-Council, and their son, Hedion, could not hear any of the elemental songs himself, and he still went out and got a dragon and whatnot. And there we have it, what we know about the magic of this world.
It is time to close out our very first When the Moon Hatched deep dive episode with shopping at the Curly Quill. First up, I love the dynamics between the gods and how they're so tangled up in each other. And I wonder how that's going to come back into play. Like how Rain is so in love with Boulder that she fills his crevices, and how Ignos loves Claude and gives her volcanic blasts for her to play in as a gift of affection to her. Oh, like, who thinks of this? Who does this? Oh my God. Also, in the prologue, it's talking about how only those as unhinged as Claude would steal a moon plume. Right here, it's tying Claude. Reave, because of how much she mentions she loves Claude's unhingedness, but also Elwood, because how she goes to steal an egg, especially at such a young age. So good. Major props to Reave and Levy for performing for 7 straight hours. Even Taylor Swift couldn't do that shit. Jesus Christ.
That stood out to me too. We've done a few recordings that are upwards of 6 to 7 hours, and they almost kill us every
so
time.
much.
I say as we're coming up on 5 hours.
I was going to say. This world and the level of detail is just outstanding. There is no comparison in my mind to this. Like, I want to just bury myself in these pages. The sky in the fade forever looking like golden hour. The sow moths as like pesky little flies in the shade. Like, she thinks of everything. Even we have a trash compactor in the form of the Velvet Trog, which is literally a giant trash compactor in the city. It's crazy. Also, everything at the Curly Quill, like how the parchment larks are doing inventory. They have a little like pen. Oh my God.
And how there are ghost larks who are essentially lost mail.
Yes. Just like do. Similar to the world building being incredible, the foreshadowing and the Easter eggings are just unhinged. They're amazing. So much so that we actually signaled to Sarah about it, asking if she sprinkled them in as she wrote the first draft or if she put them in editing after she got, the first draft done. And here is what she said, quote, "A bit of both, really, but I'm a massive planner, we can tell, girl, to the point where I pre-write the dialogue before I even start shaping a draft. Because of this, most of my Easter eggs plant themselves naturally, though I do love to pepper in more during my later drafts." And then she puts a winky face in there just to taunt us.
I love how her responses back come with lots of emojis.
I know, me too. I feel so loved.
Also, I love how, because that was something that really stuck with me from our interview with her 2 years ago. And I've actually been practicing drafting for my story primarily with the dialogue first.
Yeah.
Because that is something that I personally struggle with. I get so in the weeds. So I've actually started doing that for myself, and it's really helping get the dialogue in there because I know I need that more.
Yay, I love it.
The banter between Kaan and Reave from the get-go are just chef's kiss. They have top-tier banter. I love his retorts to her brash insults. And honestly, on that note, I'd like to give a round of applause for Rave's sharp tongue. I love a foul-mouthed, sarcastic, quick-quipped FMC, and Reave delivers.
Absolutely. While at the Curly Quill, Reave has to get a new layer for her red dress because she sacrificed it when Tarek's hand blood got all over her. And Ruse says, the owner of the Curly Quill, says how she'll have to source the material from the burn. Reave mentions how she prefers the burn material over anything else. I just love these little connections as to how much she enjoys the burn before she even goes there. Or goes there in this life, for lack of a better term. A moment of appreciation for Essie's genius. She's working on that impenetrable barrier. Like, I love the addition of how it's without cutting her in half. Like, she has to say that. And also how she made some home improvements, like a burglar alarm that will basically obliterate anyone who tries to come in.
My favorite is that the intruder would have the sudden urge to shit themselves. Like, can't you just imagine a burglar? And like, they would just like be so excited just watching the burglar come close. It's like, get the look that kids have on their face, right? And then like run away. Or that they suddenly think a dragon is attacking them, like,
It's so good. Or how she literally has runes on the windows to make it look like stone from the other side. Like, it's just, she's brilliant. I'm so sad she's dead. And I think it's safe to say that Essie is one of the highest level of genius runies. Like, she doesn't have a diamond runie clip because I'm assuming she just didn't get it since she didn't go to the school.
She's self-taught. Sarah said that, yeah. I love that with Raave's help to get her set up, Essie was able to be a creative genius. And just, gone too soon, Essie. Raave's room is bare except for a single piece of wall art and the moons that she has drawn on her otherwise unpainted ceiling. And it's with bits of coal, just like Fallon had done for her in their cell. Oh, yeah. My heart!
And last but not least, I want to commend Sarah A. Parker on the way that languages in this world with the different elemental songs sound like that element. Clothe is very lyrical, like the wind. She's very chime-like. It's how does Reave say? It's like clitiano viri. It's like how she says it in the book. And it's so lyrical. It all is vowels that connect together. And then Ignos is like Rec uses it. It's like hisses and ahs. Like, it's kind of like the crackle of fire. Then Boulder is really gritty and like, you know, it's like, oh God, it's incredible. Like, oh my God, the world she has created is unlike anything else. It's amazing.
And there we have it, friends. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode 1 of our When the Moon Hatched deep dive.
Next Monday is episode 2, where we will be covering chapters 16 through 28. Time to go hang out in a cell and get almost eaten by some molten moths.
We'd love to give the biggest warm welcome to our newest Feral fans and deep divers. Thank you so much for being here.
Welcome, Sarah S., Brandy W., Jamie K., and one of my new favorite names ever, Moose Travel Math. Incredible. Welcome.
Yay! And if you're like, hey, I want my name shouted out on the podcast and to be shouted with all this love too, join our fan club at fantasyfangirls.com/fan club. Link is also in the show notes.
Thank you to our mind weft, aka our content researcher, Brooke, and our executive producer / sanity manager / co-host of the Fantasy FanFellas podcast, Hayden.
We are very active on social media with weekly trivia, book guides, and so much more. So please be sure to follow us on Instagram and / or TikTok at Fantasy Fangirls Pod. And if you're watching this on YouTube or you want to watch on YouTube, pretty please hit that subscribe button to keep following along.
While you're hitting buttons, don't forget to hit that 5-star button on whatever podcasting platform you are listening on. And if you want to give a little extra generosity, go ahead and write a little love note in that review section. We cannot express how helpful this is, not just for this podcast, but for any podcast that you regularly listen to. And last, but certainly not least, share this episode with your fellow Moonfall friends. If you and your friend were texting back and forth being like, what is happening in this book? This is a great episode and honestly, whole season to send to that friend.
Thank you again so much. We will see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.